Asia's largest news headquarters, setting the agenda for Bharat. You're watching Republic.
Watching 6 stories at 6 with me, Akanksha Khajuri, and this evening as we bring you top stories from around the world, our focus will be on the technical snags in Boeing 787 Dreamliners. First up, we'll tell you about how 2 Air India Boeing 787 Dreamliners have suffered technical snag in the last 12 hours. Moving on, we'll also tell you about a big scare for Saudi Airline as flight smoke and sparks were seen coming out of the wheel during the landing in Lucknow. We have the ground report for you. Also, we have updates on the investigation in the plane crash tragedy. DNA testing and the probe in this entire incident is currently underway. And right now, the last rites of former Gujarat Chief Minister Vijay Rupani is also underway. We'll get you more details on that as well. Next, West Asia is on the boil again. Attack and counter attacks have been happening in the last 4 days. We have the details on that as well. And finally, Prime Minister has left for Canada and he will be participating in G7 summit. These are all the top stories that we are tracking for you at 6 at 6. Let's get started. All right, so the first story that we have for you this evening, in the last 12 hours, in fact, 2 Boeing 787 Dreamliners have suffered technical snag. Air India flight AI315 operating a Boeing 787 Dreamliner from Hong Kong to Delhi was forced to return mid-air after a technical issue was detected on board. The engine indication and the crew alerting system, that is EICAS, flagged the fuel filter bypass alert on engine 2, indicating a potential fuel system malfunction. Few hours later, in fact, another Air India Boeing 787 detected a technical snag. Now, there's a global concern and scrutiny on Air India as multiple planes have detected such technical issues, in fact. All right, so we'll tell you about what has happened today in the last 12 hours. In fact, 2 major incidents have happened. Firstly is about this Air India flight that was coming from Hong Kong to the national capital. It had to turn back. It had to take a U-turn. This is the first flight, and a major tragedy has been averted. Technical glitch in Boeing 787. Very important to highlight that this is the same Dreamliner 787 that suffered tragedy 4 days back. As far as this is concerned, engine system flagged the fuel issue. The Hong Kong flight took a U-turn. EICAS alerted crew mid-air, and pilot took a decision and took a U-turn mid-air and went back to Hong Kong. Let's tell you about another, in fact, incident that has come to the fore. Today, in the last 12 hours, 2 such incidents have happened. The next one is about the flight from Zurich to the national capital. What we're learning is that it also developed technical issues and had to, in fact, revert to the international airport where it was coming from. All right, so these are the issues that have come to the fore as far as these 2 incidents are concerned. This raises a lot of questions on Dreamliner 787 because remember 4 days back there was an incident, a massive tragedy in which 241 people have lost their life. That was also Dreamliner 787. And today in the last 12 hours, 2 incidents related to that Dreamliner has come to the fore, raising a lot of questions. All right, so as you can see, these are the 2 visuals that we are also getting for you. The first incident was that of Hong Kong flight that took off from Hong Kong at 9:20 is what we're learning in the morning, and 9 minutes later at 9:29 it took a U-turn and came back to Hong Kong after there was a technical glitch. Few hours later, another incident has come to the fore, and this time from the Zurich International Airport. The same Dreamliner faced a similar issue and had to turn back. Let me go across to aviation expert J. Venkateshwara Rao. Sir, thank you so much for speaking to Republic TV. In the last 12 hours, we have seen two incidents related to Dreamliner 787 come to the fore. Very concerning news that has come from Hong Kong and also Zurich. And this comes in the backdrop of that same Dreamliner 787 facing issue and 241 people losing their life. Do you believe there needs to be accountability, that now Boeing officials need to take Air India, rather than giving templated reply, should take responsibility and carry out inspection of these Dreamliners?
Yes, ma'am. Actually, as per the standards, the aircraft need to go for checks after every few hours that they fly, depending on the component, depending on the number of landings and takeoff. These are laid down guidelines which need not be breached. But sometimes we overlook certain things and then it leads to a catastrophe, as that happened at Ahmedabad. Here, at least the pilot took a decision. Once the EICAS indication came in, he decided to return back to Hong Kong and not venture coming into Delhi. So that's one good thing for the pilot, to have used his presence of mind to go back. Second thing is, these are all issues we need to find out what went wrong, why did it bypass. So that is one thing I think they will have to investigate. Once the aircraft landed in Hong Kong, they would have definitely looked at it to understand why this thing happened. So we'll have to wait. If Air India is honest and clear, they will come up and say this was the reason. And as usual, transparency will help Air India go a long way.
Absolutely.
In gaining the public confidence and also enhance their image. So that I guess they should conduct regular checks that need to be done. And like I said, in fact, in between we were having discussions of whether, let me make it very clear, Air India had one of the best engineers in the world. But unfortunately, due to political pressures and whatever, we have lost our place in the industry, and it's really sad. So I hope that all checks are thoroughly conducted on all the aircraft. Today we are only talking of a 787, but they need to conduct checks on all the aircraft that are in the Air India fleet.
Absolutely, very concerning, in fact, input that is coming from Hong Kong as well as Zurich. But I want to ask you, because we've been speaking to a lot of aviation experts, then they are telling us that these Dreamliner 787 should be discontinued for a while till inspection takes place. Would you hold such a review on this? Would you also demand that?
Ma'am, if there are faults coming up regularly, then it is better to ground the airline and do a full check at one point of time, because piecemeal checks may not help. Because if it's like, madam, the question that you're asking me today is like a water-filled balloon. You press it at one and it will bloat at the other. So rather than doing a piecemeal job, if a thorough check once and for all, you ground the aircraft, maybe it will take some time, maybe it will create some problem in your schedules, but then at the end of the day, you will have a perfect aircraft which will inspire confidence in the traveling public.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So these are the details of, in fact, the incidents that have taken place. Thank you so much for speaking to Republic TV. Now let's get you more details about another incident that took place in Lucknow today. A Saudi airline flight from Jeddah sparked brief scare at Lucknow International Airport on Saturday morning after smoke was seen coming from aircraft's wheels shortly after landing. An official inquiry has been launched into what caused this smoke to come out. The incident occurred around the arrival of the flight SV312. The ground staff immediately called in the airport rescue and firefighting team ARFF, which responded swiftly to the situation. Now, working in coordination with the Saudi technical crew, the emergency response team managed to contain the smoke before it could cause a damage to the flight. But again, a very concerning news coming in from Uttar Pradesh this time. Spark and smoke came out of the wheel of that airplane.
लखनऊ के चौधरी चरण सिंह एयरपोर्ट पे कल के दिन सऊदी अरेबिया से एक फ़्लाइट आई और उस फ्लाइट को लेकर तमाम तरीके की जानकारी आई है। हम लखनऊ एयरपोर्ट पे मौजूद हैं, तस्वीरें आपको दिखा रहे हैं जहां सऊदी एयरपोर्ट से उड़ी एक फ़्लाइट, सऊदी अरेबिया एयरलाइंस की फ़्लाइट SV3112 लैंड करती है। लैंडिंग के दौरान पहिए से चिंगारी और धुआं निकलता है, जिसके बाद अफरा तफरी की स्थिति में जो ग्राउंड सपोर्ट टीम है वो उस आग को बुझाती है। और ठीक हमारे आंखों के सामने हम आपको तस्वीरों में विजुअल्स दिखा रहे हैं, सऊदी अरेबिया एयरलाइंस की फ्लाइट खड़ी है। ये वही फ्लाइट है या नहीं ये हम कंफर्म कर रहे हैं, कोशिश कर रहे हैं, लेकिन सऊदी अरेबिया की एक फ्लाइट हमें हैंगर पे खड़ी हुई दिखाई रही है, जो कल के दिन सुबह तकरीबन 6:30 बजे लैंड करती है। 20 मिनट की मशक्कत के बाद जो ये पूरी समस्या थी उसको कंट्रोल में लेकर आते हैं। शनिवार की बता दें आपको, रात में 11:30 बजे जद्दा एयरपोर्ट से हज यात्रियों को लेकर ये जहाज उड़ा था और रविवार की सुबह लखनऊ पहुंचता है। लैंड करते ही पहिए में आग लग जाती है, पुशबैक कर टैक्सी वे पर इसे लाया जाता है और किसी तरीके से जो ग्राउंड सपोर्ट की टीमें होती हैं वो टीमें इस आग को अपने कंट्रोल में लेती है। रनवे पर जब वो लैंड करता है तभी धुआं उठता दिखाई देता है। हम ठीक एयरपोर्ट पर मौजूद हैं, आपको तस्वीरें दिखा रहे हैं। सऊदी अरेबिया की एक फ्लाइट हैंगर पे लगी हुई है और तमाम इन सब बातों के बीच अहमदाबाद में जो घटना घटी है, जो अथॉरिटीज है कंसर्न्ड है, अलग अलग जो टीमें हैं वो इस पूरे मामले की जांच भी कर रही हैं।
Let's tell you about another air tragedy 4 days after the crash of the London-bound Air India flight AI-171 in Ahmedabad, which has claimed 270 lives so far. Hospital authorities have confirmed that 119 victims have been identified through DNA matching, including that of former Gujarat Chief Minister Vijay Rupani. Meanwhile, a high-level committee meeting was also held at the Ministry of Home Affairs today. Civil Aviation Secretary, DGCA, BCAS official attended this very crucial meeting. In fact, this is the high-level committee that was constituted after this biggest tragedy that India has seen. All right, let me go across to my colleague Gopi, who joins us from the civil hospital in Ahmedabad and who has been tracking this story very closely. Gopi, we are learning that DNA testing is currently underway. DNA testing of former Gujarat Chief Minister is also complete. His last rites are in fact underway. But give us details about what is happening on the ground there as far as civil hospital is concerned.
Well, in fact, Akanksha, we have been seeing a constant movement of ambulances since morning, and now what we are learning from our sources, well, the press conference is underway here at another wing of the hospital, wherein they have declared that 74 bodies, in fact 74 mortal remains have been given back to the respective families. This is what is the update from civil hospital. While 119 DNA samples have been matched, they have tried to approach almost all the families, but still 3 families are unreachable. So rest of the bodies, later in the day, the family members of rest of the bodies are going to come here and they are going to collect the mortal remains from this very place. This is the mortuary complex of civil hospital. While, as you have correctly mentioned, the last rites of Vijay Rupani are underway, and his the last rite, the funeral is going to happen at the Ramnath Para crematorium at Rajkot after a short while. Back to you.
Absolutely. Gopi, keep tracking those details for us. Let me also go across to Harsha, who has been tracking the investigation into this case. Harsha, we are learning that a key meeting, in fact, took place today between BCAS, DGC, etc. What has been the outcome of the meeting? What was discussed?
So, Akanksha, till now we know that it was a first meeting, the high-level committee meeting, which has been formed to investigate into the reasons behind the crash. It was the first meeting, and this first meeting, the regulators, DGCA and BCAS, have given the proper note to the Home Secretary, under whose chairmanship the committee has been formed. The note has been given regarding the 15 days. In last 15 days, what has been the technical issues and glitches in the Air India flight. Also, also it has been stated that this is the entire report which has come from Air India to DGCA just 2 days back about all the incidents in the Boeing. To mention that in the span of 1 year, there have been several technical glitches reports of the Boeing 787 fleet, and that entire report has been given by regulators to the Home Secretary today. And there has been further discussion about the crash site with the Ahmedabad police as well, with the forensics team as well. But it's too early to say exactly that today some concrete discussion would have happened. It was a first meeting where everyone have spoken about the instance, about the crash, what they have gotten from the site, and about Air India. There will be more follow-up meetings because this was the first meeting. The report has to come out in 3 months. We can say this was the start of the investigation, so it will take some time for more news to come out of this meeting. But yes, we can say that now all the stakeholders in this meeting have started investigation at their level, be it DGCA, be it EICAS, be it the forensics team, the security team, the Ministry of Civil Aviation officials, and also the forensics as well. Back to you.
Absolutely. Probe is underway and more such meetings will continue to happen over the next 3 months till a report is submitted. Thank you, Harsha, for all the details. We'll keep coming back to you for more on this. Even as we speak, the last rites of former Gujarat Chief Minister and senior BJP leader Vijay Rupani, who tragically died in the recent Air India crash. In fact, it began today in Rajkot with full state honours. The identity of Rupani was confirmed through DNA testing 3 days after this devastating crash of Air India took place, and the test results arrived at 11:10 a.m. yesterday. After that, the family members took away his mortal remains, and the last rites are currently underway. Here's Bo.
Former Gujarat Chief Minister Vijay Rupani was amongst the 241 passengers who lost their lives in the devastating crash. Their stories cut short and futures erased in the blink of an eye. It was on a Sunday, 3 days after the crash, that Vijay Rupani's body was formally identified. DNA samples were used for identification, a painstaking process that underscores the severity of the disaster. Authorities confirmed the news, and Gujarat was plunged into mourning. A one-day state mourning is being observed in honour of the late former Gujarat Chief Minister. The mortal remains of Vijay Rupani was brought to Rajkot at around 2 p.m, where his final journey took place. The funeral was conducted with full state honours. It was a heart-wrenching scene when Rupani's wife Anjali Rupani broke down, bidding an emotional farewell to her husband. Gujarat's Chief Minister Bhupendra Patel paid his respects to the late leader earlier today, laying a wreath in front of Mr. Rupani's body. Gujarat mourns the loss of a man who once led the state with dedication and vision. In a statement, Chief Minister Bhupendra Patel expressed profound sorrow over the untimely demise of his predecessor and said that this is an irreparable loss, not just to the state of Gujarat, but to the entire nation. Gujarat now stands united in grief. The legacy of Vijay Rupani will forever remain etched in the hearts of the people he served.
Now we're shifting our focus to Iran and Israel. US Embassy in Israel suffered a minor damage after being hit by Iranian missile as military conflict with Israel entered its 4th day on Monday. The video emerging from the building showed broken glasses and window panes. No US personnel was injured in this incident. However, the US Embassy in the country and its consulate remains closed today due to the ongoing shelter-in-place order. Now, a day earlier, US President Donald Trump had warned Iran against striking any of the US assets, threatening that full might of the armed forces will be on them if they do so. Well, let me go across to the former media coordinator to the Prime Minister. Thank you so much for speaking to Republic TV. We are seeing attack and counter-attack between Israel and Iran in the last few days. And a day after Donald Trump warned Iran, we are seeing that the US Embassy in Israel was hit. There was minor damage, but how would you assess this?
Hi, Achna. Thank you for having me. What you see, what you just shown on the screen is a very minor damage to the embassy in Tel Aviv. As long as no American personnel has been hurt. So yeah, I don't believe there will be any response from the Americans regarding that issue.
Absolutely. And in the last few days, we've also seen US distancing itself as far as this conflict is concerned. But again, we are saying that despite that, there has been an attack on the United States. How would you respond to this?
What do you mean there has been an attack on the United States? In what form?
What I meant is that in the last few days, in fact, US has distanced itself from the conflict. Comment had also come from Donald Trump. He had said that he has nothing to do with the attack on Iran. But again, we are saying that Iran, despite those distancing by the United States, has attacked the US embassy there. How do you assess US being part of this entire conflict that is going on in West Asia?
So the Iranians are just indiscriminately firing ballistic missiles towards Israeli heavy populated areas. And it happens to be that the U.S. embassy was right in Tel Aviv on the beach. So yeah, it's really not something that I think the American will take it seriously. But yeah, we are hoping that soon the Americans will join forces and help us to basically finish the job at the uranium enrichment facilities in Iran, which this is basically the entire point of this operation, to prevent Iran from getting enough enrichment or uranium enrichment in order to reach a bomb. And we also hearing about the signaling of Iran of leaving the IAEA safeguard agreements, which also will give a legitimacy to Israel and other Israel allies to really strike Iran once they will actually leave this agreement.
Right.
It just goes to show you that they're not acting rationally. They're acting after Israel's strike, which was very precise strikes across the nation in many facilities.
Absolutely. So we are seeing attack and counter-attack as far as Israel and Iran is concerned. Thank you so much for speaking to Republic TV. Now, the deadly conflict between Israel and Iran has entered the fourth day, with both sides firing new waves of attacks overnight. Israeli Air Force launched waves of strikes overnight, targeting approximately 100 military targets in Isfahan in central Iran. 50 fighter jets and aircrafts identified and struck missiles, storage site, surface-to-surface launchers that were ready to launch towards the state of Israel. Now, despite this, Iran's missile managed to breach Israel's defense system. We witnessed scenes of destructions and anxiety in Tel Aviv as Israelis woke up to the latest wave of the Iranian strikes. Now, early Monday, that is this morning, strikes have hit on the Israeli oil refinery and damaged the parts of the power grid as well. All right, so this is as far as the conflict in Israel and Iran is concerned. In fact, a big claim has come from Israel that they have destroyed more than 20 surface-to-surface missiles last night before they could be launched towards Israel. Now we're shifting our focus. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will land in Canada today to attend the G7 summit after he was invited by the Canada Prime Minister. This marks Modi's first visit to Canada since diplomatic relations between New Delhi and Ottawa turned frosty over the killing of Khalistani separatist Hardeep Singh Nijjar. Now, the Prime Minister will exchange views with the leaders of G7 countries, others invited outreach countries, and the heads of the international organization on the crucial global issues including energy security, technology, and innovation. Now, the Prime Minister will also hold several bilateral meetings on the sidelines of the summit. summit. He will also be meeting with the Canadian counterpart Mark Carney on the sidelines of the G7 summit. So all eyes will be on Canada the next two days. Prime Minister will be there. He will be holding the bilateral talks. He will also be attending this, discussing issues as far as other countries are also concerned. This is all we could pack for you in this bulletin. We'll be back tomorrow with more stories for 6 at 6. Keep watching Republic TV.
अब छोलिया हो या लोबिया, सफेद चने या काले चने,
सब कुछ मजेदार बने।
अहमदाबाद प्लेन क्रैश में इंदौर की एक बहू की भी जान गई है। सैकड़ों लोग इसमें अपनी जान गंवाए हैं। बहुत ही दुखद हादसा है, लेकिन इंदौर की जो बहू है उनके घर में हमें हरप्रीत होरा जो बच्ची है वो अपने पति से लंदन मिलने जाना चाह रही थी, क्योंकि उनके पति का 16 जून को जन्मदिन था। हरप्रीत के ससुर जी हमारे साथ हैं, राजेंद्र होरा, उनसे हम बात करते हैं। सर, कैसे आपको कब फर्स्ट इन्फॉर्मेशन कब मिली इस हादसे की और आपकी बहू की?
सर, मीडिया के माध्यम से प्लेन क्रैश की जानकारी मिली, प्रथम वहीं से मिली। अब बिटिया उसी प्लेन में जा रही थी तो नैसर्गिक रूप से मन में डाउट हुआ, पर एक उम्मीद की किरण थी, क्योंकि पहले 30 लोगों का सुना, फिर 50 लोगों का, फिर संख्या बढ़ती चली गई। फिर
आपको वहां से किसका फोन आया जिसने जानकारी दी कि आपकी बहू भी नहीं रही?
ये न्यूज़ चैनल के माध्यम से कि 242 लोगों में से एक बचा, तो 241 का ही था, और उनके फादर उनको छोड़ने गए थे। वो छोड़ के निकले, कुछ दूरी पहुंचे थे, फिर उनको प्लेन हादसे की जानकारी लगी। फिर उनसे बातचीत करी तो उन्होंने बताया कि प्लेन क्रैश हो गया है, बिटिया उसी में ही थी।
16 तारीख को शायद हरप्रीत के जो हस्बैंड हैं रॉबी, उनका बर्थडे था, उनसे मिलने जा रही थी।
जी, पहले 19 को जा रही थी, 16 को बर्थडे था, तो बेटे के साथ उसने प्लान किया कि यूरोप भी घूमेंगे साथ में हम, तो वो इस हिसाब से 12 तारीख को निकल गई थी। 15 तारीख को यूरोप घूमने की तैयारी थी उनकी। जी,
हादसे के लिए आप सर किसको जिम्मेदार मानते हैं? एयर इंडिया में पहले भी कई शिकायतें आती रही हैं, तो इस हादसे का जिम्मेदार किसे मानते हैं आप?
सर, ये तो मैं नहीं कह सकता, पर ऐसा पूरा जानकारी है कि इससे अच्छा बोइंग कोई सी भी नहीं है, कोई सा भी नहीं है। पता नहीं क्यों ये दुखद घटना हुई, किस कारण से हुई, इसके बारे में कैसे कह सकता हूँ मैं, टेक्निकल जानकारी नहीं है सर मुझे।
दोनों इंजन फेल हुए एक साथ?
हाँ, ये बड़ा आश्चर्य, बस एक ही प्रश्न है कि दोनों इंजन एक साथ जाना, बड़ा आश्चर्य का लगा।
अभी वहाँ ATS भी पहुँच गई है जांच करने के लिए, तो जांच होना चाहिए इस एंगल पे भी कि कुछ षड्यंत्र तो नहीं?
बिल्कुल जांच क्यों नहीं होना चाहिए सर। 242 लोग हैं, 242 में उनके परिवार पे क्या गुजरी है, सबसे बड़ी बात यह है। बेटा अभी तक होश में नहीं है सर।
15 साल हो गया उनको वहाँ पे, 10-15 साल से।
और इंडिया में कब से आए थे?
इंडिया यहाँ पे उनके मम्मी का हार्ट हो गया था बोल के उनको मिलने आए थे।
हाँ।
तो 6 दिन में रिटर्न था उनका जाने का, तो 6 दिन में ये हादसा हो गया।
Getting those visuals from Rajkot in Gujarat, the mortal remains of Gujarat's former Chief Minister Vijay Rupani, one of the victims of the deadly air crash in Ahmedabad, earlier handed over to his family members. His remains were then brought to Rajkot, his hometown, for the last rites. Those are visuals from Rajkot coming in. Gopi is coming across live from Rajkot with us on the story. Gopi, we've seen several things, and now we're also seeing pictures coming in of the Home Minister, Mr. Amit Shah, present there in Rajkot, other BJP leaders there to pay their final salutes to the remains now of the mortal remains that have been brought to Rajkot after the deadly air crash. Gujarat's former Chief Minister Vijay Rupani, one of the victims of the air crash in Ahmedabad. Gopi.
Well, yes, so it was earlier in the day at around 12:30 that the mortal remains of former Chief Minister Vijay Rupani was taken from this very place, which is the civil hospital's mortuary, and his mortal remains then landed at Rajkot's Hirasar airport at around 2 p.m. After which there was a short procession from the airport to his residence, and now we are getting visuals from the residence where Home Minister Amit Shah along with the Chief Minister of Gujarat Bhupendra Patel is there. There in attendance is also Acharya Devrat, the Governor of Gujarat, as well as various other leaders, which includes Purushottam Rupala, as well as Home Minister of Gujarat Harsh Sanghvi, Rishikesh Patel, the Health Minister. So all these top leadership of Gujarat, as well as Union Minister C.R. Patil is also seen at the residence of Vijay Rupani. While let's tell our viewers that it is a tragic loss for the state of Gujarat, and Vijay Rupani in fact hails from Rajkot. So this is a place from where he began his political career. In fact, he began his career as a corporator. He later on went to become the mayor of Rajkot, while then he was the member of parliament of Rajya Sabha, member of Rajya Sabha for quite some time, and then he has termed as the Chief Minister of Gujarat for 2 terms after Anandiben Patel. So he was the most affable leader which Gujarat has ever seen. It is a huge loss. While his mortal remains were being taken from the airport to his residence, there were around thousands of people paying tribute to their favorite leader, Vijay Rupani. And what we are also learning from our sources is it was after 70 hours after the plane crash, the tragic plane crash, that the DNA samples of former Chief Minister Vijay Rupani were matched with one of his nephews. In fact, it was his sister's DNA which was taken previously, but the match couldn't happen back then, and later on it was his nephew's DNA which got matched. While today morning, the entire Rupani family was in Ahmedabad to receive his mortal remains from the mortuary. It was Rishabh Rupani, his son, as well as his wife Anjali Rupani, who were here at the mortuary, along with the top leaders of Gujarat who were at the civil hospital, and they in fact carried his mortal remains to Rajkot's Hirasar airport. It was in fact the decision of Rishabh Rupani, who is the son of Vijay Rupani, to organize, perform final rites at Rajkot, because that is the ancestral house of the Rupani family. While also, if you look at the pictures, you can see his affinity towards the leaders of top leadership of BJP, which includes, because those were the days when he was completely in touch with the top leadership, with now top leadership of central government. So when you speak of Amit Shah and his affiliation with Amit Shah, as well as a person like very senior leader Purushottam Rupala, he is close to all the leaders of BJP, be it wherever they are residing in any part of Gujarat. He was one leader who was loved, a clean leader, and you wouldn't find a single controversy revolving around Vijay Rupani. While he lost his life during this plane crash, it was during this time that he was going to London at his daughter's place to bring his wife back. while there was also Father's Day, and we happened to understand that she had prepared everything to celebrate Father's Day with Vijay Rupani, and in fact now this tragic loss for the Rupani family. Well, in fact, not just for the Rupani family, but for the entire Gujarat, the people of Gujarat, who were fondly, who are now fondly going to miss their leader and their former Chief Minister, Vijay Rupani. Back to you.
Yes. Thank you, Gopi. We stay with those pictures where we are seeing the tribute, the final journey of Vijay Rupani. Thank you, Gopi, for giving us those details. In a major crackdown on terror infrastructure, the State Investigation Agency in Jammu and Kashmir has now attached the properties of Pakistan-based terrorist in North Kashmir's Handwara. The terrorist Abdullah Hamid Lone is now wanted in a case of terror funding case. The SIA carried out the action in the presence of an executive magistrate as part of efforts to dismantle cross-border terror networks. This is the big breaking news coming in. I'm going to go across to Arawat to give us more details. Arawat, Pakistan-based terrorist in North Kashmir's Handwara and his property has been attached. The immovable property has been seized under UAPA and CRPC provisions with the NI court's approval. Give us more details, Arawat.
Absolutely, Rhythm, as we have seen that this is the major crackdown in the North Kashmir that we have seen. Pakistan-based terrorist in the North Kashmir's Handwara. His property has been attached in the North Kashmir's Handwara. We have seen after the deadly terror attack in the Pahalgam, then after we have seen these kind of the raids are taking place in the various parts of the Kashmir. Earlier we have seen that the National Investigation Agency and the State Investigation Agency has carried out the multiple raids, not only here in the Kashmir Valley, but we have seen that the raids were also carried in the Jammu region. This time we have seen that the Pakistan-based terrorist Abdul Hamid, his land in the Handwara has been attached by the Joint Security Forces this afternoon in the Handwara, and we have also got to know that he is in touch with some terrorist associates in the Kashmir Valley, and he is continuously trying to active the younger generation into terror ranks in the Kashmir Valley. But we have seen the tough action against terrorist Abdul Hamid, and we have seen that the land in the North Kashmir's Handwara has been attached. Already we have seen the deadly terror attack in the Pahalgam. Then after we have seen these kind of property attachments have been intensified across Jammu and Kashmir. Also we have seen earlier in the parts of the Kashmir Valley that these kind of raids are being conducted in the various locations in the Kashmir Valley. As we have been told that in the coming weeks that more properties along the line of control areas in the sensitive zones will be
Arawat, you are
done.
giving us great details, and this is a top focus. We'll continue tracking. Thank you for giving us those details. Viewers, the other big breaking news that's coming in. BRS working president, former Telangana minister K.T. Rama Rao left the ACB office after 7 hours of questioning. The interrogation was in connection with the alleged irregularities in the Hyderabad Formula E event case. I'm going to be joined by my colleague Aneri to give us more details. From Hyderabad, Aneri is joining us. Aneri, speaking to reporters earlier, he had called this investigation police harassment, accused the Congress government of trying to divert its attention. But 7 hours of questioning, what has been happening there, Aneri, today?
Well, what we see is that the BRS working president and former minister was summoned by the ACB earlier last week, and now what we see is that KTR had appeared before the ACB for questioning, and almost for 7 hours the questioning had went on by the ACB officials in connection with the Formula E case, where they have been alleging that there are alleged financial irregularities that are said to be found during the BRS regime when this Formula E race case was conducted. And KTR was the minister back then. And now what we see is that KTR had also very categorically stated that this is nothing but a political vendetta by the Congress government, but they will continue to question the Congress government over its failures of not fulfilling the promises which they had made.
All right, Aneri, thank you for those details. It's a top focus. We'll track. Moving on, viewers. Israel's military said it has hit command centers of Iran's Revolutionary Guard following days of attacks focused on Tehran's nuclear program, senior leadership and infrastructure. This happens after Iranian strikes overnight killed several people. Several Tel Aviv buildings not far from the US consulate have been destroyed. President Trump has nixed Israel's plan to kill Iran's supreme leader. Calling Iran's leadership weak, Israeli Prime Minister suggested in a Fox News interview on Sunday the conflict could result in a regime change. And there's a breaking news statement also coming in, viewers. In a major strike amid the escalating conflict, the Israeli Air Force says it has destroyed several Iranian weapon trucks headed towards Tehran. The IDF claims the convoy attempting to escape detection carrying surface-to-air missile launchers and other arms from western Iran. The precision air raid reportedly neutralized the launchers, delivering a direct blow to Iran's military preparedness. The big breaking news coming in as we are speaking. This is another strike amid the escalating conflict. The latest in the conflict that's coming, Israel strikes in triggers also an earthquake. Israel rains fire on Iran. The IDF claims the convoy attempting to escape detection carrying surface-to-air missile launchers and other arms from western Iran. Let me go across to Nick, who's joining us live from Tel Aviv. Nick Koloyathan, I had spoken with you earlier, Nick, and you had given us details about what's been happening. Speaking plainly, Nick, we're trying to understand the precision air raids that have been reportedly neutralizing the launchers delivered a direct blow to Iran's military preparedness. Give us some details about that, Nick.
Yeah, Israel saying that at least 1/3 of the launchers were destroyed in Iran, and they are continuing to destroy them. Israel wants to destroy Iran's capability to strike Israel, and it's all about the amount of how much they can strike in one barrage of rockets. If Iran will shoot a lot of rockets at the same time, in this case, they can reach their targets because maybe it can overwhelm the Israeli defense system. But if they are not shooting enough, Israel can shut down all the rockets. So this is the logic behind that. And you can see here I'm in Tel Aviv, in the center of the city, and see I even can't continue to walk because of this barrage of rockets. And you can see that the tree just went off, and now the road is closed, it's blocked, and there is no way to go through. So I will go through a house, and here the situation in the center of Tel Aviv is catastrophic. Many buildings are suffering from this blast of the Iranian rocket. It is just one rocket, and the damage here is amazing. It destroyed so many buildings here all around, and this situation is not usual for the Israelis because they are not used to such a massive rockets, ballistic ones. And I think Iran is the first country to use ballistic rockets with such a huge amount of weaponry on it. You can see here everything is destroyed. And this is probably the first country that uses it against regular citizens in the center of a lively city like Tel Aviv. It's the central city of Israel. And you can see all the shops here are destroyed. People for their whole life worked here. Some of them I spoke, and now their businesses are destroyed completely. You can see here behind me, this is the Shockwave. It was a very famous Russian restaurant in Israel.
Yes.
And now it is completely destroyed.
All right.
And yes.
All right, Nick, that's a fantastic news report we're getting from you. We're wishing for your and your family's safety there. Thank you, Nick Koloyathan, joining us there, senior journalist from Tel Aviv. Viewers, now we ask you Is this world on the brink of a nuclear showdown? In this special report, we break down the latest flashpoints in the escalating Iran-Israel conflict. With over 150 missiles fired in a dramatic wave of retaliation, the Middle East stands at a dangerous crossroads. Major General G.D. Bakshi joins us to decode the strategy, the stakes, and the real risk of this turning into a wider regional war.
So as we all know, Iran has been attacked and it has struck back. There was a Mutt and Jeff process going on. The Americans were negotiating with Iran to defang it of its nuclear program. They were putting a lot of diplomatic pressure on Iran to engage in this thing. And as part of that Mutt and Jeff routine, while the Americans were putting the diplomatic pressure, the Israelis were giving the threats of military attack on its, nuclear sites, nuclear enrichment plants, on its petrochemical complexes, on its command and control infrastructure. So as we have seen, this attack started yesterday. That is, when Israel struck Natanz, that is the uranium enrichment facility. They struck the command and control headquarters of the IRGC, the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps in Tehran, and they also struck the Isfahan as.
And coming up after a short break, Prime Minister Modi receives ceremonial welcome in Cyprus, now leaves for Canada to attend a G7 summit.
आधे बाउल दही में 4 चम्मच MDH चटनी पुदीना मसाला डाला, स्टर करो, पुदीना चटनी तैयार। MDH चटनी पुदीना मसाला।
Hi, this is Chef Ranveer Brar. Guarantee you brilliance on behalf of IIHM.
अब छोलिया हो या लोबिया, सफेद चने या काले चने,
सब कुछ मजेदार बने।
अहमदाबाद प्लेन क्रैश में इंदौर की एक बहू की भी जान गई है। सैकड़ों लोग इसमें अपनी जान गंवाए हैं। बहुत ही दुखद हादसा है, लेकिन इंदौर की जो बहू है उनके घर में हमें हरप्रीत होरा जो बच्ची है वो अपने पति से लंदन मिलने जाना चाह रही थी, क्योंकि उनके पति का 16 जून को जन्मदिन था। हरप्रीत के ससुर जी हमारे साथ हैं, राजेंद्र होरा, उनसे हम बात करते हैं। सर, कैसे आपको कब फर्स्ट इन्फॉर्मेशन कब मिली इस हादसे की और आपकी बहू की?
सर, मीडिया के माध्यम से प्लेन क्रैश की जानकारी मिली, प्रथम वहीं से मिली। अब बिटिया उसी प्लेन में जा रही थी तो नैसर्गिक रूप से मन में डाउट हुआ, पर एक उम्मीद की किरण थी, क्योंकि पहले 30 लोगों का सुना, फिर 50 लोगों का, फिर संख्या बढ़ती चली गई। फिर
आपको वहां से किसका फोन आया जिसने जानकारी दी कि आपकी बहू भी नहीं रही?
ये न्यूज़ चैनल के माध्यम से कि 242 लोगों में से एक बचा, तो 241 का ही था, और उनके फादर उनको छोड़ने गए थे। वो छोड़ के निकले, कुछ दूरी पहुंचे थे, फिर उनको प्लेन हादसे की जानकारी लगी। फिर उनसे बातचीत करी तो उन्होंने बताया कि प्लेन क्रैश हो गया है, बिटिया उसी में ही थी।
16 तारीख को शायद हरप्रीत के जो हस्बैंड हैं रॉबी, उनका बर्थडे था, उनसे मिलने जा रही थी।
जी, पहले 19 को जा रही थी, 16 को बर्थडे था, तो बेटे के साथ उसने प्लान किया कि यूरोप भी घूमेंगे साथ में हम, तो वो इस हिसाब से 12 तारीख को निकल गई थी। 15 तारीख को यूरोप घूमने की तैयारी थी उनकी। जी,
हादसे के लिए आप सर किसको जिम्मेदार मानते हैं? एयर इंडिया में पहले भी कई शिकायतें आती रही हैं, तो इस हादसे का जिम्मेदार किसे मानते हैं आप?
सर, ये तो मैं नहीं कह सकता, पर ऐसा पूरा जानकारी है कि इससे अच्छा बोइंग कोई सी भी नहीं है, कोई सा भी नहीं है। पता नहीं क्यों ये दुखद घटना हुई, किस कारण से हुई, इसके बारे में कैसे कह सकता हूँ मैं, टेक्निकल जानकारी नहीं है सर मुझे।
दोनों इंजन फेल हुए एक साथ?
हाँ, ये बड़ा आश्चर्य, बस एक ही प्रश्न है कि दोनों इंजन एक साथ जाना, बड़ा आश्चर्य का लगा।
अभी वहाँ ETS भी पहुँच गई है जांच करने के लिए, तो जांच होना चाहिए इस एंगल पे भी कि कुछ षड्यंत्र तो नहीं?
बिल्कुल जांच क्यों नहीं होना चाहिए सर। 242 लोग हैं, 242 में उनके परिवार पे क्या गुजरी है, सबसे बड़ी बात यह है। बेटा अभी तक होश में नहीं है सर।
अहमदाबाद प्लेन क्रैश में इंदौर की एक बहू की भी जान गई है। सैकड़ों लोग इसमें अपनी जान गंवाए हैं। बहुत ही दुखद हादसा है, लेकिन इंदौर की जो बहू है उनके घर में हमें हरप्रीत होरा जो बच्ची है वो अपने पति से लंदन मिलने जाना चाह रही थी, क्योंकि उनके पति का 16 जून को जन्मदिन।
दादी के हाथों का जादू और खुशबू से महकता घर, माँ की मुस्कुराहट और खाने की सुगंध। MDH गरम मसाला,
क्योंकि हर रिश्ता है स्वाद से जुड़ा।
आपकी फेवरेट हुंडई कार्स पर मिल रही है अमेजिंग डील्स। वैसे लोगे तो आप हुंडई ही, चाहे दिल की सुनो या डील्स की, तो जल्दी चले आओ हुंडई शोरूम।
15 साल हो गया उनको वहाँ पे, 10-15 साल से।
और इंडिया में कब से आए थे?
इंडिया यहाँ पे उनके मम्मी का हार्ट हो गया था बोल के उनको मिलने आए थे। तो 6 दिन में रिटर्न था उनका जाने का, तो 6 दिन में ये हादसा हो गया।
कहाँ से? अहमदाबाद की प्रॉपर रहने वाले?
नहीं, वो एक्चुअली रहते हैं हम लोग बॉम्बे है क्या। और वाया फ्लाइट था, तो बॉम्बे से यहाँ आए थे। यहाँ से हम लोग को उनको लंदन जाना था, UK जाना था।
तो उसमें छोटी बच्ची भी थी, मतलब कितने उम्र के लोग थे? उनकी उम्र क्या थी?
वो एक की 4 है और एक की शायद मेरे ख्याल से 8 है। 4 या 6 ऐसा कुछ है लड़की के।
कब से रह रहे थे, क्या करते थे वहाँ पे?
होटल मैनेजमेंट का ये था उनका जॉब। और 15 साल हो गया उनको वहाँ पे, 10-15 साल से।
अहमदाबाद प्लेन क्रैश में इंदौर की एक बहू की भी जान गई है। सैकड़ों लोग इसमें अपनी जान गंवाए हैं। बहुत ही दुखद हादसा है, लेकिन इंदौर की जो बहू है उनके घर में हमें हरप्रीत होरा जो बच्ची है वो अपने पति से लंदन मिलने जाना चाह रही थी, क्योंकि उनके पति का 16 जून को जन्मदिन था। हरप्रीत के ससुर जी हमारे साथ हैं, राजेंद्र होरा, उनसे हम बात करते हैं। सर, कैसे आपको कब फर्स्ट इन्फॉर्मेशन कब मिली इस हादसे की और आपकी बहू की?
सर, मीडिया के माध्यम से प्लेन क्रैश की जानकारी मिली, प्रथम वहीं से मिली। अब बिटिया उसी प्लेन में जा रही थी, तो नैसर्गिक रूप से मन में डाउट हुआ, पर एक उम्मीद की किरण थी, क्योंकि पहले 30 लोगों का सुना, फिर 50 लोगों का, फिर संख्या बढ़ती चली गई। फिर
आपको वहां से किसका फोन आया जिसने जानकारी दी कि आपकी बहू भी नहीं रही?
ये न्यूज़ चैनल के माध्यम से कि 242 लोगों में से एक बचा, तो 241 का ही था। और उनके फादर उनको छोड़ने गए थे, वो छोड़ के निकले, कुछ दूरी पहुंचे थे, फिर उनको प्लेन हादसे की जानकारी लगी। फिर उनसे बातचीत करी तो उन्होंने बताया कि प्लेन क्रैश हो गया है, बिटिया उसी में ही थी।
16 तारीख को शायद हरप्रीत के जो हस्बैंड हैं रॉबी, उनका बर्थडे था, उनसे मिलने जा रही थी।
हाँ जी, पहले 19 को जा रही थी, 16 को बर्थडे था, तो बेटे के साथ उसने प्लान किया कि यूरोप भी घूमेंगे साथ में हम, तो वो इस हिसाब से 12 तारीख को निकल गई थी। 15 तारीख को यूरोप घूमने की तैयारी थी उनकी। जी।
हादसे के लिए आप सर किसको जिम्मेदार मानते हैं? एयर इंडिया में पहले भी कई शिकायतें आती रही हैं, तो इस हादसे का जिम्मेदार किसे मानते हैं आप?
सर ये तो मैं नहीं कह सकता, पर ऐसा पूरा जानकारी है कि इससे अच्छा बोइंग कोई से भी नहीं है। कोई सा
Amity has been ranked India's #1 not-for-profit private university for 11th year, with top 10 ranked institutions in management, engineering, biotech, law, masscom, telecom, hospitality, fashion and more. Yet another top ranking for Amity University.
MDH की हल्दी मिर्ची धनिया करे कमाल, ये रंग दे, ये खुशबू दे, ये तीखा, ये कम पड़े, क्या निराला MDH मसाला।
अहमदाबाद प्लेन क्रैश में इंदौर की एक बहू की भी जान गई है। सैकड़ों लोग इसमें अपनी जान गंवाए हैं। बहुत ही दुखद हादसा है, लेकिन इंदौर की जो बहू है उनके घर में हमें हरप्रीत होरा जो बच्ची है वो अपने पति से लंदन मिलने जाना चाह रही थी, क्योंकि उनके पति का 16 जून को जन्मदिन था। हरप्रीत के ससुर जी हमारे साथ हैं, राजेंद्र होरा, उनसे हम बात करते हैं। सर, कैसे आपको कब फर्स्ट इन्फॉर्मेशन कब मिली इस हादसे की और आपकी बहू की?
सर मीडिया के माध्यम से प्लेन क्रैश की जानकारी मिली, प्रथम वहीं से मिली। अब बिटिया उसी प्लेन में जा रही थी तो नैसर्गिक रूप से मन में डाउट हुआ, पर एक उम्मीद की किरण थी, क्योंकि पहले 30 लोगों का सुना, फिर 50 लोगों का, फिर संख्या बढ़ती चली गई। फिर
आपको वहां से किसका फोन आया जिसने जानकारी दी कि आपकी बहू भी नहीं रही?
ये न्यूज़ चैनल के माध्यम से कि 242 लोगों में से एक बचा, तो 241 का ही था, और उनके फादर उनको छोड़ने गए थे। वो छोड़ के निकले, कुछ दूरी पहुंचे थे, फिर उनको प्लेन हादसे की जानकारी लगी। फिर उनसे बातचीत करी तो उन्होंने बताया कि प्लेन क्रैश हो गया है, बिटिया उसी में ही थी।
16 तारीख को शायद हरप्रीत के जो हस्बैंड हैं रॉबी, उनका बर्थडे था, उनसे मिलने जा रही थी।
जी, पहले 19 को जा रही थी, 16 को बर्थडे था, तो बेटे के साथ उसने प्लान किया कि यूरोप भी घूमेंगे साथ में हम, तो वो इस हिसाब से 12 तारीख को निकल गई थी। 15 तारीख को यूरोप घूमने की तैयारी थी उनकी। जी।
हादसे के लिए आप सर किसको जिम्मेदार मानते हैं? एयर इंडिया में पहले भी कई शिकायतें आती रही हैं, तो इस हादसे का जिम्मेदार किसे मानते हैं आप?
सर ये तो मैं नहीं कह सकता, पर ऐसा पूरा जानकारी है कि इससे अच्छा बोइंग कोई से भी नहीं है, कोई सा भी नहीं है। पता नहीं क्यों ये दुखद घटना हुई, किस कारण से हुई, इसके बारे में कैसे कह सकता हूँ मैं, टेक्निकल जानकारी नहीं है सर मुझे।
दोनों इंजन फेल हुए एक साथ?
हाँ, ये बड़ा आश्चर्य, बस एक ही प्रश्न है कि दोनों इंजन एक साथ जाना, बड़ा आश्चर्य का लगा।
अभी वहाँ ATS भी पहुंच गई है जांच करने के लिए, तो जांच होना चाहिए इस एंगल पे भी कि कुछ षड्यंत्र तो नहीं?
बिल्कुल जांच क्यों नहीं होना चाहिए सर। 242 लोग हैं, 242 में उनके परिवार पे क्या गुजरी है, सबसे बड़ी बात यह है। बेटा अभी तक होश में नहीं है सर।
15 साल हो गया उनको वहाँ पे, 10-15 साल से।
और इंडिया में कब से आए थे?
इंडिया यहाँ पे उनके मम्मी का हार्ट हो गया था बोल के उनको मिलने आए थे। तो 6 दिन में रिटर्न था उनका जाने का, तो 6 दिन में ये हादसा हो गया।
कहाँ से? अहमदाबाद की प्रॉपर रहने वाले?
नहीं, एक्चुअली रहते हैं हम लोग बॉम्बे है क्या। और वाया फ्लाइट था, तो बॉम्बे से यहाँ आए थे। यहाँ से हम लोग को उनको लंदन जाना था, UK जाना था।
तो उसमें छोटी बच्ची भी।
From Asia's largest news headquarters, setting the agenda for Bharat. You're watching Republic.
Hello and welcome. You're watching the Monday edition of This is Exclusive with me, Shavan Sen. Tension in West Asia is now escalating. What all started as a war of words between Israel and Iran has now turned into a full-blown war. It's on the knife's edge. What's going to happen next? The entire spotlight tonight on This Is Exclusive as to what's really happening in Israel as well as Iran, as we get you a ground report and an exclusive interview coming up in a short while from now. But up first, let me take you through the headlines we're tracking at this hour. Republic is the only channel live from Tel Aviv as we track the West Asia war developments closely. No sign of a ceasefire between Israel and Iran. IDF continues with its strikes. Two more Air India flights report technical snag. First Hong Kong, Delhi grounded, and now Zurich. Delhi flight faces 5-hour delay. Financial Action Task Force condemns a Pahalgam terror attack of 22nd of April, calls it brutal while urging a global unified response against terror funding. Prime Minister Modi, after receiving ceremonial welcome in Cyprus, now leaves for Canada to attend G7 summit. Ladies and gentlemen, it is a significant escalation of the tension in the West Asia region. What we have essentially witnessed over the last few days is not just war of words anymore. It's the entire region now on knife's edge. What started as just as a war of words has now turned into a complete full-blown war. In fact, earlier today, the US Embassy in Tel Aviv sustained considerable damage following an Iranian missile strike. The attack which took place earlier today is a clear indication of what's really happening on the ground. Israel, on the one hand, clearly indicated that no more will Iran be allowed to continue arming their proxies. The Hezbollah is out. Now Israel is gunning for the leadership in Iran. Iran, on the other hand, says that their assets have been struck in Syria and now they're carrying out the attack in deep within Iran. Iran says they're not going to take this lying low. In fact, what we saw this morning marks one of the most direct and aggressive actions taken by Iran against American interests in the region. Iranian officials have yet to issue any formal statement, but the strike is being seen as part of an ongoing escalation between the two nations. This comes just a day after Trump warned Iran, saying that if they dare to threaten American sovereignty, there will be a harsh response from the US armed forces. What remains to be seen how the US and its allies will respond to this alarming development. But for now, Republic, the only Indian news network live from Tel Aviv, brings you a ground report which puts into perspective what unfolded at the US Embassy this morning. This is up direct inside US Embassy. Take a look.
You can see behind me the American Embassy in Tel Aviv, and this is not damaged from the outside, at least from the shock wave of the ballistic missile that was fired from Iran, but still all the places next to the embassy suffering from a damage. Here usually people are doing the passport photos for the passport, leaving their stuff in those safes, and you can see the massive damage here from the shock wave of the ballistic missile. You can see the windows are broken here and here. So the blast was huge, and Iran probably targeted or the American embassy or the consulate of the United States that was much more damaged than the embassy itself. The embassy is almost with no damage at all, but all the surroundings around, there are much more damage, as you can see.
Well, in fact, President Trump all this while said that they were not part of this. However, there are reports suggesting that American forces in the region have been helping the Israelis to at least carry on with a counter-attack on Iran. This, remember, happens to be a direct targeting of US assets inside Israel. The fact that the embassy, the United States of America embassy in Tel Aviv has now been attacked, and India has essentially also responded by indicating that this is not an era of war. That was the last statement that was made by the Prime Minister too. But what you see on your screens right now, these are images that we've got from our reporter on the ground, giving us a sense of the kind of devastation that has taken place. 300 ballistic missiles that have been fired by the Iranians over the last few days. In fact, this has gone deep inside Israel. Few of the targets have been hit. There have been injuries that have been reported from various parts of Israel. As far as the Iranians are concerned, remember, Iranians say that they've got a stockpile of over 2,000 ballistic missiles, and they are going to carry on with the reprisal. As far as Israel is concerned, Israel makes it abundantly clear that their aim right now is to disarm Iran. So much so, the first two attacks that have taken place were close to the nuclear facilities. But the main nuclear facility of Iran, that happens to be Fordown, this area hasn't been struck by the Israelis as yet. And that is the reason why many analysts essentially indicating right now that it is unlikely that Israel is going to go ahead with any sort of a ceasefire unless the Americans really step in. Now, these are all the images that we're basically showing you over the last few days, what has really happened from Friday when this attack began. But first, take a look at this eyewitness account that our reporter sent just a short while back. We seem to be having some problem with the audio line as far as the eyewitness account is concerned. And this is the first eyewitness account that we are also getting in, but we'll try and play that out in a short while from now after we fix the audio line. However, ladies and gentlemen, the Israeli Defense Forces have released a footage. Now, this footage shows the Israeli Air Force successfully locating, neutralizing trucks that were smuggling weapons, including surface-to-air missile launchers, as they advanced from western Iran towards Tehran. Since the early hours of the morning, the Air Force tracked the convoy, which was attempting to evade Israeli airstrikes. The targeted airstrike successfully neutralized the trucks, destroying the weapons as well as missile launchers before they could even reach their intended destination. On your screens right now, these are the images that we have just accessed from the Israeli Defense Forces, which basically gives you a sense of the kind of surveillance that is now being carried out to identify all the movement of weaponry towards Tehran, so that Tehran can actually carry out with their counter strikes. Iran says that they have the stockpile and the war is not ending anytime soon, given the fact that their nuclear scientists as well as the top commanders have actually been targeted. In a short while from now, we're also going to be joined by the Foreign Ministry of Israel. Oren from the Israeli Foreign Ministry is joining us on this broadcast. Oren, thank you very much for joining us. A short while back, there was a statement that actually came in from Tehran, stating that you were basically now targeting civilian areas and the fact that this was no longer limited to nuclear facilities. How do you basically respond to the allegation that has been leveled by Tehran?
Hi, Sean. It's good to be with you on the show again. I won't take you by surprise when I say that this is not the first time the Iranian regime is lying. They are lying to the world, they are lying to people. Israel is targeting only military objectives. Military objectives, nuclear-related objectives, and military-related objectives. On the other hand, Iran, the Iranian regime, is targeting civilians. Unfortunately, 24 civilians were murdered by Iranian ballistic missiles so far. I can tell you, last night, I spent the night with my 9-year-old girl, my 12-year-old girl, wife, in the shelter. I'm not a military person, but I live in a civilian neighborhood, and like many others, I was targeted. Civilians are getting killed, are murdered because of Iranian aggression. And we are doing everything possible to remove them from their threats to acquire nuclear weapons.
Oren, with regards to what next, because the fact of the matter that for the first time you're essentially looking at some of the civilian areas in Israel being targeted. Prime Minister Netanyahu says that Tehran is going to burn. What's the end game here?
So thank you, Shaman, for this question. Perhaps to understand the end game, we need to understand the context. Why are we here? We are here because Iran, the Iranian regime, posed an existential threat to the state of Israel. It's a double existential threat. The first one is the nuclear threat. The Iranians were getting closer and closer. They were at the 11th hour before being able to get their hands around nuclear weapon. And the second threat, the existential threat, is the ballistic threat. This is the Iranian race to be able to produce thousands of ballistic missiles. Now you need to understand, Shwan, that for a tiny country like Israel to be threatened with a regime that is calling for the annihilation of Israel and is equipped with thousands of missiles is existential threat. So this is why we took on the initiative to remove Iran, to remove this existential threat from Israel. And we are doing so in order to make Israel safe and Israel a safer place. But actually, we're making the world a safer place because Iran nuclear capabilities and Iran ballistic capabilities pose a threat not only to Israel, to the entire Middle East, and actually to other countries as well, such as Europe, countries in Europe and in Asia, because those intercontinental missiles that Iran has are not aiming at Israel. They are aiming much further away.
Oren, the understanding is this. Iranian proxy, Hezbollah, has been completely weakened. Hezbollah was undoubtedly upset that the Iranians did not really come to their rescue. The situation currently, the way it is, Iranians without the support of the Hezbollah has been completely weakened. Where does it really go? Your target was the Hezbollah. Now you're targeting the senior commanders of the Iranians and of course the leadership itself. So much so, your Prime Minister has already indicating, there was an indication that you were basically looking forward some sort of a regime change.
So, Prime Minister was very clear with the objectives of this operation. And the objectives are to remove this existential threat, double existential threat of nuclear and ballistic missiles. But I want to touch upon a very important point just made, Hezbollah. What happened in recent months...
I'm going to ask a question on the US Embassy right now. Oren, the fact that this morning...
If I just may finish the point regarding Hezbollah. What happened is that after Qasem Nasrallah and Hezbollah were targeted and eliminated, and they were taken off, and when basically Hezbollah was neutralized by Israel, Iran, the Iranian regime, accelerated their efforts and their program to achieve nuclear weapon. When they realized that Hezbollah is out of the game, they felt that they need to push forward their attempts to get nuclear weapon. And we were at a very, very dangerous point, almost in the point of no return for the Iranian regime to get their hands on a nuclear weapon. And one must remember, we are dealing with the most extreme, dangerous regime on earth trying to get the most dangerous weapon ever known to mankind. This combination cannot happen, should never happen, and this is why we're doing the job. We're doing the job to make Israel safer and to make the world a safer place.
Oren, one final question that I want to take with you. This morning, the US Embassy was attacked in Tel Aviv. President Trump all this while said that this is not a war for us. We are not in that situation. But let's be very clear. Under President Trump, who was already looking for some sort of an understanding, a deal with the Iranians, and somewhere down the line, Israel essentially getting into this, do you believe that America is going to join you very soon? Because there has been a tacit understanding, there has been help that the Americans are giving, but if things worsen from here onwards, is Israel really expecting further cooperation and the involvement of the Americans in this war?
So, the United States is Israel's closest ally. We have ongoing, intimate dialogue with our American friends. The American friends, of course, were informed about this operation. And of course, the position and the action of the United States will be determined by the United States itself. And I will leave it to the American to communicate their own position. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Oren, for joining us on this broadcast. The first official from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs speaking to an Indian news network confirming what's really happening on the ground. Thank you very much, Oren. Tel Aviv stands at the epicenter of a devastating new chapter in the Israel-Iran conflict as waves of destruction sweep through one of Israel's most iconic cities. Missile strikes have been launched from Iranian forces, have wreaked havoc, leaving a trail of devastation in their wake. Entire city blocks have been obliterated, with buildings reduced to rubble and vital infrastructure being heavily damaged. The once bustling streets of Tel Aviv, normally known for their vibrant energy, now lies in silence, marred by the scare of a warfare. Now, as Israel grapples with this attack, the world watches very closely, bracing for the ramifications of an escalating conflict that threatens to engulf the entire region. Here's more straight from the conflict zone and exclusive.
Here behind me is the center of Tel Aviv, and Iranian ballistic missile hit here, and the destruction is massive. Many residential buildings all over destructed, devastated, and they can collapse any moment. That's why the police and rescue forces of the Israeli army asking nobody to come close to this place. And also there was here a metro station that is still built under the ground. It is still under the construction, and it is also a big danger because it can collapse with all the area here around. That's why it's not safe to be here. And you see how massive this devastation, and see that Iran targeting civilian areas. There are no military targets here, just regular people living here. A lot of shops destroyed, and places for around 300 meters all around are destroyed. Nick Kolyochin, Tel Aviv, Israel. Nick Kolyochin, Tel Aviv, Israel.
Well, in fact, we're also going to play out that eyewitness account. Now, this is an account of what really happened when the US Embassy was basically targeted. Take a look.
In the early hours of Monday morning, the sky over Israel lit up in streaks of flame. A new wave of Iranian missiles slicing through the dark. Sirens wailed, cities shook, and the long simmering shadow war between Tehran and Tel Aviv exploded into open confrontation. Iran's Revolutionary Guard launched over 100 ballistic and cruise missiles, striking targets across northern and central Israel, including a direct hit on a residential building in Petah Tikva, just miles away from Tel Aviv.
see behind me, this is the result of the latest barrage of rockets fired at our residential communities by Iran. It's continuing the pattern as we're seeing. Each and every one of these scenes are targeting residential communities, civilians in their homes. Early this morning, our police hotline number got the report of a building that was hit. Our first responders and our bomb squad immediately arrived to the scene so that we can medically evacuate those that were injured together with the other first responders that are here, Homefront Command, the medical services. This is something that we prepare for year-round and something that we've been on high alert for since the start of these rocket barrages targeting our residential communities.
At least 5 people were killed, 67 more wounded, and a fully functional city now reduced to rubble and debris.
ואחרי זה שפתחנו את הדלת של הממ"ד, חרבו עינינו, כל הדירה מפורקת לחלוטין, לא נשאר כלום. תוך דקות, ממש דקות מעטות, הגיעו כוחות הביטחון, פיקוד העורף, קראו לנו מהר לדירה, הסתכלו לראות ששאלו אותנו אם הכל בסדר, אני, האישה והילדה, ברוך השם היינו בסדר.
This is the 4th day of open warfare between the two longtime foes. A historic shift from covert operation and proxy battles to direct missile exchanges and strategic bombings. The IDF says that most of Iran's senior military commanders have been eliminated and that their operations have set their nuclear program back significantly.
עכשיו ניתן לומר שהשגנו עליונות אווירית מלאה בשמי טהרן. אנחנו תוקפים בזמן אמת חוליות איראניות שמשגרות טילים לעבר מדינת ישראל, וגם לעבר מטוסינו. יכולות סגירת המעגל שראינו עד עכשיו בעזה, בלבנון ובאיו"ש, קורות עכשיו גם באיראן.
Israeli jets reportedly disabled nearly 1/3 of Iran's surface-to-surface missile systems, claiming control of airspace from western Iran to the outskirts of Tehran. But Iran remains defiant, vowing more retaliation, more strikes. Its leaders accuse Israel of trying to provoke a full-scale regional war and say that the conflict is far from over. From Tel Aviv to Tehran, from the bunkers of northern Israel to the shattered streets of southern Iran, a new chapter of conflict is being written in real time and at a terrible cost.
And the red line has been crossed. This is what Israel says with regards to the number of attacks that have taken place starting from late Friday night. In fact, this morning when the US embassy was also targeted, Israel's first response came in that here you have the Iranian leadership completely exposed as to what was their real target. In fact, the kind of devastation that we're essentially seeing right now inside Israel, while the number of injuries is roughly around a little over a dozen, but the reason why this has only escalated is because several of regions inside Israel have now actually taken a hit because of the Iranian missiles. Here is an eyewitness account.
On the Akon Street with the embassy behind us, in this area radius of 500-600 meters, actually last night fell pieces of missile that was taken down in the air.
Yeah, and we can see the damage.
The damage, here you can't see much of the damage because the structure is strong. You can see all the line of the businesses from the windows, the mechanics of the door, the sound and the wave of the explosive. It's the missiles they are using are very big, from 12 meters up to 15 meters and few hundred pounds of explosives. So you can guess all this facade. Also in our offices on the Ben Yehuda eastern side, we had also damages, and it goes all the way here, the facade of the businesses. Thank God there's no damage in human lives. Everybody knows the rule and the drill to go straight to the security areas, so everybody is safe and good. We are dealing now with repairing everything to do from insurance and technicians and everything that is involved.
This is your hotel?
Yes, this is the Ultra Hotel, the main entrance. We had here also a problem with the doors. We have a few damages of crack of glasses in the first floor because we are first row to the sea. The damage is big, but it's not serious, and we support the IDF, and we know that these days we are doing the right thing, and we are together strong. We will fix everything and go back to hopefully to routine soon.
And last thing, how surprising is that for you that here it is the United States Embassy, and maybe it was the target? What do you think?
I think.
What are the targets that Israel has achieved so far? Remember, they are essentially talking about nuclear sites that have been targeted so far. On your screens right now, details of Operation Rising Lion that was started late on Friday night. In fact, so far, strikes of the military leadership in Tehran, which basically includes senior commanders as well as nuclear scientists. Natanz happens to be Iran's main nuclear facility. And there are satellite imagery now essentially indicating that not just Natanz, but also there are a few other places that have been targeted by Israel, which also includes the site that is linked to nuclear program, Karaj, the radar site of Iran, which is in Sumashi, Sardasht, which happens to be the site that is linked to the nuclear program. Kermansh is the missile base targeted because this is the very place from where missiles, the ballistic missiles, are also being launched towards Israel. Now, Piranshar, it happens to be the radar site which has now been targeted. Missile, in fact, the other place that they have targeted is Tabriz. This is another location from where the ballistic missiles have been launched. Tehran, of course, has been one of the worst hits. Karaj and Subanchi, these are the few places. But what's important to point out here, one of the major areas, that is the Fodro area, has still not been targeted by the Israelis, which happens to be one of the most important nuclear sites. And that's where the bunker nuclear sites are also there. Ladies and gentlemen, focusing on what really happened in Ahmedabad. In the aftermath of one of the most devastating aviation tragedies in recent memory, a powerful and haunting new video has now emerged, offering a rare glimpse of human resilience and unspeakable destruction. The footage now going viral captures the harrowing moment when 26-year-old Vishwas Kumar Ramesh, the lone survivor of Air India flight AI-171 crash in Ahmedabad, is seen staggering out of the burning wreckage, dazed, injured but alive. The image of Ramesh walking through thick black smoke and twisted metal has now become an emblem of survival against all odds following a crash that claimed the lives of over 270 people. Authorities and rescue teams were stunned to find someone alive amid what they had expected to be a scene of total devastation. Well, that's all that we could pack in this edition of This Is Exclusive. We'll be back here tomorrow, coming up trending with my colleague Rakshita.
इसको घर पे लगाओगे तो शादी का तो पता नहीं, पर घर पक्का नहीं टूटेगा।
रुंगटा नहीं तो घर स्ट्रॉन्ग नहीं। रुंगटा स्टील TMT बार एकदम सॉलिड।
पहाड़ों में एक हाइकिंग शिप भी बन सकती है।
ये है सीक्रेट रेसिपी MDH का जीरा सिप जल जीरा मसाला।
Hi, this is Chef Ranveer Brar. Guarantee you brilliance on behalf of IIHM.
MDH की हल्दी मिर्ची धनिया करे कमाल, ये रंग दे, ये खुशबू दे, ये तीखा, ये कम पड़े, क्या निराला MDH मसाला।
अहमदाबाद प्लेन क्रैश में इंदौर की एक बहू की भी जान गई है। सैकड़ों लोग इसमें अपनी जान गंवाए हैं। बहुत ही दुखद हादसा है, लेकिन इंदौर की जो बहू है उनके घर में हमें हरप्रीत होरा जो बच्ची है वो अपने पति से लंदन मिलने जाना चाह रही थी, क्योंकि उनके पति का 16 जून को जन्मदिन था। हरप्रीत के ससुर जी हमारे साथ हैं, राजेंद्र होरा, उनसे हम बात करते हैं। सर, कैसे आपको कब फर्स्ट इन्फॉर्मेशन कब मिली इस हादसे की और आपकी बहू की?
सर, मीडिया के माध्यम से प्लेन क्रैश की जानकारी मिली, प्रथम वहीं से मिली। अब बिटिया उसी प्लेन में जा रही थी तो नैसर्गिक रूप से मन में डाउट हुआ, पर एक उम्मीद की किरण थी, क्योंकि पहले 30 लोगों का सुना, फिर 50 लोगों का, फिर संख्या बढ़ती चली गई। फिर
आपको वहां से किसका फोन आया जिसने जानकारी दी कि आपकी बहू भी नहीं रही?
ये न्यूज़ चैनल के माध्यम से कि 242 लोगों में से एक बचा, तो 241 का ही था, और उनके फादर उनको छोड़ने गए थे। वो छोड़ के निकले, कुछ दूरी पहुंचे थे, फिर उनको प्लेन हादसे की जानकारी लगी। फिर उनसे बातचीत करी तो उन्होंने बताया कि प्लेन क्रैश हो गया है, बिटिया उसी में ही थी।
16 तारीख को शायद हरप्रीत के जो हस्बैंड हैं रॉबी, उनका बर्थडे था, उनसे मिलने जा रही थी।
हाँ जी, पहले 19 को जा रही थी, 16 को बर्थडे था, तो बेटे के साथ उसने प्लान किया कि यूरोप भी घूमेंगे साथ में हम, तो वो इस हिसाब से 12 तारीख को निकल गई थी। 15 तारीख को यूरोप घूमने की तैयारी थी उनकी जी।
हादसे के लिए आप सर किसको जिम्मेदार मानते हैं? एयर इंडिया में पहले भी कई शिकायतें आती रही हैं, तो इस हादसे का जिम्मेदार किसे मानते हैं आप?
सर, ये तो मैं नहीं कह सकता, पर ऐसा पूरा जानकारी है कि इससे अच्छा बोइंग कोई सी भी नहीं है, कोई सा भी नहीं है। पता नहीं क्यों ये दुखद घटना हुई, किस कारण से हुई, इसके बारे में कैसे कह सकता हूँ मैं, टेक्निकल जानकारी नहीं है सर मुझे।
दोनों इंजन फेल हुए एक साथ?
हाँ, ये बड़ा आश्चर्य, बस एक ही प्रश्न है कि दोनों इंजन एक साथ जाना, बड़ा आश्चर्य का लगा।
अभी वहाँ ETS भी पहुँच गई है जांच करने के लिए, तो जांच होना चाहिए इस एंगल पे भी कि कुछ षड्यंत्र तो नहीं?
बिल्कुल जांच क्यों नहीं होना चाहिए सर। 242 लोग हैं, 242 में उनके परिवार पे क्या गुजरी है, सबसे बड़ी बात यह है। बेटा अभी तक होश में नहीं है सर।
15 साल हो गया उनको वहाँ पे, 10-15 साल से।
इंडिया में कब से आए थे?
इंडिया यहाँ पे उनके मम्मी का हार्ट हो गया था बोल के उनको मिलने आए थे। तो 6 दिन में रिटर्न था उनका जाने का, तो 6 दिन में ये हादसा हो गया।
From your smartphones to your smart TV, trending topics are taking the internet by storm. And on this edition, we get you all that is trending and that you just cannot miss. Israeli trekker missing for 10 days in Himachal Pradesh has been found alive with a fractured leg. We'll get you what his story is. History has been made, ladies and gentlemen. Indian chess stars shine as Team MGD1 win FIDE World Rapid Team title. There's another feather in ISRO's cap. The Indian Research Space Organization has successfully conducted rocket-based payload launch from Uttar Pradesh's Kushinagar. And finally, we will also tell you about the city in Gujarat that has been lost and found after 5,300 years. We are tracking this and a lot more for you on this edition of Trending Today with me, Tanisha Awasthi. In a huge relief, an Israeli trekker, Samuel, who went missing in Himachal Pradesh's Kangra district, and this happened on June 6th, has now been found alive, but with a fractured leg. Local residents helped locate him in the forest near Chatari village. Samuel, in his mid-30s, was trekking with a group of 5 but got separated. His friend reported him missing to McLeodganj police on June 10 after he failed to return by nightfall. Indian chess team MGD1 led by Arjun and Srinath Narayanan has made history by becoming the first ever Indian team to win the FIDE World Rapid Team Championship. They defeated top-seeded WR Chess and other strong contenders to claim the title. The team's exceptional performance has received praise from chess legends and fans worldwide, marking a new chapter in Indian chess history. Ladies and gentlemen, the Indian Space Research Organization has successfully conducted a rocket launching test, and this happened in Kushinagar in Uttar Pradesh. This marked a significant milestone for the state. This test was a part of preparations for the In-Space CanSat and Model Rocketry India Student Competition 2024 to 2025, a joint effort by the Astronautical Society of India, that is the ASI, the Indian National Space Promotion and the Authorization Center, and of course ISRO. This is a 15 kg model rocket that was launched, reaching an altitude of 1.1 kilometers. A small satellite payload was deployed and its parachute activated at 5 meters above ground, landing safely within 400 meters. Now, the test was aimed to validate the launch site's suitability and evaluate operational parameters like safety margins and communication range. The launch sets the stage for the In-Space CanSat competition, where around 900 youth-built satellites will be tested. On this, I'm being joined by former Deputy Director of ISRO, S. Venkateshwara Sharma. Sir, thank you very much for speaking to Republic. The test that has happened in Kushinagar in Uttar Pradesh, talk to us about the significance that this might have as far as ISRO's achievement is concerned, as far as ISRO's testing range is concerned.
Good evening to you and good evening to viewers. After successful Chandrayaan, Mangalyaan, Suryayan, and also bringing back Sunitha Williams to Earth from ISS, there is really a lot of enthusiasm among the students for doing the rocket and rocket science and making the satellite. And there is widespread, propaganda and the awareness, I would say, in terms of the rocket science, and also the interest that the students are developing. Very positive interest, and which is a very positive trend that the students are developing in terms of making the rocket, learning about the satellites, launching, etc. is there. As a first attempt during 2022-23, there were such attempt done by Abdul Kalam Foundation at Chennai, Mahabalipuram, where hundreds of satellites were launched by students, and they set the Guinness Book of World Record. Just to give a brief of these rockets and the CanSats, what we call it as the CanSats, just to give you a brief, these types of rockets are solid propellant rockets. In the rocket, there are 3 to 4 types: solid propellant rocket, liquid propellant rocket, cryogenic rocket, and then the kerosene-based cryogenic rockets. So, professionally, what is being used by ISRO, they're all solid, liquid, and cryogenic combination to reach the orbits. But these student satellites and the student rockets, they use only solid propellant rockets, where you can go up to the height of 50 to 100 kilometers into the atmosphere, and the trajectory is that it will come back to Earth. The difference between the professional rockets by ISRO and the student rocket is that these rockets are aimed to take the satellites into orbit, and those satellites will come back into the Earth doing the experiment. This is the difference. And those rockets, professional rockets, are used to launch the satellites into orbit, where they gain the orbit, and the satellites will remain in the orbit for months and years, giving various services. This is the difference. And how it evolved, let me give you a small brief. There is what is called a sounding rocket, which ISRO had been doing since time immemorial. Since 1970s, ISRO had been doing sounding rockets, where they would launch the various experimental modules into the space for studying the environment, temperature, humidity, and the gaseous conditions, carbon dioxide, etc. And these rockets, sounding rockets, would launch the payloads into the orbit of 50 to 1,000 kilometers, and they would re-enter into Earth in 40 minutes to doing several experiments. Such type of experiment is being in a small scale is being planned by ISRO in space and the private institutions. And the first such experiment is launching of a small rocket, which is a solid propellant-based rocket, into about 1 kilometer orbit, and launching a CanSat, which can re-enter into the Earth. So this is the precursor for the 900 satellites which are being planned as a competition between organized by InSpace, then ASI and the ISRO and private organization, to encourage students to do CanSats. So what are these CanSats? These CanSats are like satellites which are for student learning. It is for the students to learn. They are not professional ones. They are not for professional application. This is mainly for the students to learn. So these CanSats are about 10 centimeter height and about 6 centimeter in diameter. They will have few transponders. They will have a small power supply. They will have some elements which for transmitting the signals, etc. And those CanSats will be done by the students, and they will carry some payload, such as measuring the temperature, measuring the climatic condition, measuring the pressure, and measuring maybe some ultra UHF range.
Right.
Transmission, signal transmission, etc. That is the type of experiment that can be conducted using these CanSats. Therefore, these 900 CanSats will be done by the students, and the rocket that will be used will be solid propellant rocket. And I think the competition is planned between 2024 and 2025. I think 25 and beyond. I think it's already we are in 2025. So it must be year end or so. It is planned to have the students assemble and make 900 of these CanSats, and then launch it to the orbit. These CanSats, once they are launched, about 1 kilometer or 1 kilometer to 10 kilometer orbit is generally what is typically launched. Once it is launched, they have a small parachute. They will deploy this parachute, and they will re-enter into the Earth within a few minutes of its launch. This is how the entire experiment is planned. I think this is a good initiative. I think such type of experiment encourage the students.
Yes,
and also such of those experiments should be done across the country. Of course, it's happening in small scales.
Yes.
And what initiative what has been taken by InSpace, ASI, and the private institution and the organizations is such such initiatives would definitely
absolutely. So it's a yes. Yes, exactly like you were pointing out. It's a fantastic initiative that has been taken up by ISRO, and of course the world is looking forward to watch what more can ISRO achieve. Thank you very much, sir, for speaking to Republic and sharing your insights on that. For now, we move on, and our next segment, ladies and gentlemen, is Hot Trends. Prime Minister Narendra Modi was honoured with Cyprus's highest civilian award, the Grand Cross of the Order of Makarios III, during his visit to the island nation. Accepting the award, Prime Minister Modi expressed his gratitude to the President, government and people of Cyprus, dedicating it to the 1.4 billion people of India. He emphasized that the award symbolizes the strong bond between India and Cyprus, built on shared values and mutual trust. A group of 7, or the G7 summit, commenced on Monday in Canada with world leaders like Trump, EU President, and Keir Starmer arriving to discuss the global trade tensions, ongoing wars, and the escalating conflict between Iran and Israel. A 12-year-old girl from Nagpur, Trisha Bijwi, had a terrifying experience while on a family vacation in Manali, Himachal Pradesh. This was after she was riding a zipline when the rope connected to her harness suddenly snapped, causing her to fall nearly 30 feet onto boulders along the Bias River. The incident occurred on June 8 and a video of the accident surfaced on social media showing the girl dangling in mid-air before plummeting to the ground. Trisha suffered multiple fractures and underwent surgery a few days after the accident. In a groundbreaking move, the United Kingdom government has announced the appointment of Blaise Maitreveli, CMG, as first ever woman chief of country's Secret Intelligence Service, MI16. Now, she will take over as the 18th chief of MI6 later this year, succeeding Sir Richard Moray, with over 2 decades of experience in the organization, having joined in 1999. She currently oversees technology and innovation. Speaking of the rising stars, Hilang Yachik, a 24-year-old athlete from Arunachal Pradesh, has scripted history by winning a gold medal in women's model physique up to 155 centimeter category and a silver medal in another category at the 15th South Asian Bodybuilding and Physique Sports Championships 2025 in Thimphu, Bhutan. This achievement marks a significant milestone for women athletes from India's northeast, inspiring many to pursue their sporting dreams despite the challenges. Moving on, archaeologists from the University of Kerala have made a groundbreaking discovery, unearthing a 5,300-year-old early Harappan settlement near Lakhapur village in western Kutch in Gujarat. Now, the excavation, led by assistant professors Abhiyan GS and Rajesh SV from Kerala University's Department of Archaeology, revealed crucial evidence of a Harappan settlement dating back to circa 3,200 BCE to 1700 BCE. Now, the site spans nearly 3 hectares on either side of the Guduli-Lakpan road near the now quiet Gandhi River, which once provided a perennial water source. Now, just a short while back, my colleague Akanksha spoke to Sanjay Manjul, additional DG at Archaeological Survey of India. Listen in.
A 3,500-year-old settlement has been found in Gujarat. In fact, currently I'm joined by Sanjay Manjul, additional DG of ASI. So thank you so much for speaking to Republic TV. I want to understand from you, how significant is this discovery?
Actually, in entire Gujarat, it's a very, very important discovery. Yes, apart from this site, there is another 2-3 sites also reported in the same era of early Harappan settlement. Even in Dhalavira is one of the World Heritage Sites protected by Archaeological Survey of India, excavated by Dr. R.S. Bist, having early Harappan deposit there. So there is a gradual development of Harappan civilization, or we can say the classical Harappan civilization is important to understand the early settlement and also the rituals like burial and uses of other artifacts like semi-precious stones, tools and other element of classical Harappan civilization. So it's a really important things to understand, particularly the development of Harappan civilization and the early phase of Harappan civilization, basically. So it's important.
Absolutely, sir. And I want to understand from you, what has been found so far? Any key artifacts that you have unearthed from there?
Earlier, the Kerala University, Abhiyan and others team excavated burial site also there, and they have reported the early Harappan potteries from the burial. Burial is usually the extended burial which is found in mature Harappan phase in Dhalavira also. So the artifacts in recent excavation, basically that's a development of early pottery called pre-Pravas phase. Pravas is one of the site, the pre-Pravas phase pottery, and then later on the development of classical Harappan pottery, which is known in various Harappan sites in Gujarat and other region of Indus and Saraswati Valley also.
Now, the Indian Army recently organized a special yoga session in the breathtakingly beautiful region of Ladakh, promoting physical well-being, mental resilience and emotional harmony along the local populace. As International Day of Yoga 2025 approaches, this initiative embodies the spirit of yoga for self and society. Watch these visuals as I bid you goodbye.
MDH की देगी मीरज,
देगी मिर्च का तड़का, अंग अंग फड़का।
MDH की देगी मीरज।
आपकी फेवरेट हुंडई कार्स पर मिल रही है अमेजिंग डील्स। वैसे लोगे तो आप हुंडई ही, चाहे दिल की सुनो या डील्स की, तो जल्दी चले आओ हुंडई शोरूम।
दादी के हाथों का जादू और खुशबू से महकता घर, माँ की मुस्कुराहट और खाने की सुगंध। MDH गरम मसाला,
क्योंकि हर रिश्ता है स्वाद से जुड़ा।
15 साल हो गया उनको वहाँ पे, 10-15 साल से।
और इंडिया में कब से आए थे?
इंडिया यहाँ पे उनके मम्मी का हार्ट हो गया था बोल के उनको मिलने आए थे। तो 6 दिन में रिटर्न था उनका जाने का, तो 6 दिन में ये हादसा हो गया।
कहाँ से? अहमदाबाद की प्रॉपर रहने वाले?
नहीं, एक्चुअली रहते हैं हम लोग बॉम्बे है क्या, और वाया फ्लाइट था, तो बॉम्बे से यहाँ आए थे। यहाँ से हम लोग को उनको लंदन जाना था, यूके जाना था।
तो उसमें छोटी बच्ची भी थी, मतलब कितने उम्र के लोग थे? उनकी उम्र क्या थी?
वो एक की 4 है और एक की शायद मेरे ख्याल से 8 है। 4 या 6 ऐसा कुछ है लड़की के।
कब से रह रहे थे, क्या करते थे वहाँ पे?
होटल मैनेजमेंट का ये था उनका जॉब, और 15 साल हो गया उनको वहाँ पे, 10-15 साल से।
अहमदाबाद प्लेन क्रैश में इंदौर की एक बहू की भी जान गई है। सैकड़ों लोग इसमें अपनी जान गंवाए हैं। बहुत ही दुखद हादसा है, लेकिन इंदौर की जो बहू है उनके घर में हमें हरप्रीत होरा जो बच्ची है वो अपने पति से लंदन मिलने जाना चाह रही थी, क्योंकि उनके पति का 16 जून को जन्मदिन था। हरप्रीत के ससुर जी हमारे साथ हैं, राजेंद्र होरा, उनसे हम बात करते हैं। सर, कैसे आपको कब फर्स्ट इन्फॉर्मेशन कब मिली इस हादसे की और आपकी बहू की?
सर, मीडिया के माध्यम से प्लेन क्रैश की जानकारी मिली, प्रथम वहीं से मिली। अब बिटिया उसी प्लेन में जा रही थी, तो नैसर्गिक रूप से मन में डाउट हुआ, पर एक उम्मीद की किरण थी, क्योंकि पहले 30 लोगों का सुना, फिर 50 लोगों का, फिर
ये है सीक्रेट रेसिपी MDH का जीरा सिप जल जीरा मसाला।
पैसा लगाना है तो सेंचुरी क्लब प्राइम पे लगाओ। डूबेगा नहीं, जलेगा भी नहीं, कोई खा नहीं जाएगा, धोखा नहीं देगा, ऊपर नीचे भी नहीं होगा, सेफ रहेगा, सिक्योर्ड में। मिनिमम 30 साल का रिटर्न देगा। अब इससे बेटर इन्वेस्टमेंट है तो बताओ। सेंचुरी प्लाई क्लब प्राइम, रहो बेफिक्र।
MDH की देगी मीरज,
देगी मिर्च का तड़का, अंग अंग फड़का।
MDH की देगी मीरज।
अहमदाबाद प्लेन क्रैश में इंदौर की एक बहू की भी जान गई है। सैकड़ों लोग इसमें अपनी जान गंवाए हैं। बहुत ही दुखद हादसा है, लेकिन इंदौर की जो बहू है उनके घर में हमें हरप्रीत होरा जो बच्ची है वो अपने पति से लंदन मिलने जाना चाह रही थी, क्योंकि उनके पति का 16 जून को जन्मदिन था। हरप्रीत के ससुर जी हमारे साथ हैं, राजेंद्र होरा, उनसे हम बात करते हैं। सर, कैसे आपको कब फर्स्ट इन्फॉर्मेशन कब मिली इस हादसे की और आपकी बहू की?
सर, मीडिया के माध्यम से प्लेन क्रैश की जानकारी मिली, प्रथम वहीं से मिली। अब बिटिया उसी प्लेन में जा रही थी तो नैसर्गिक रूप से मन में डाउट हुआ, पर एक उम्मीद की किरण थी, क्योंकि पहले 30 लोगों का सुना, फिर 50 लोगों का, फिर संख्या बढ़ती चली गई। फिर
आपको वहां से किसका फोन आया जिसने जानकारी दी कि आपकी बहू भी नहीं रही?
ये न्यूज़ चैनल के माध्यम से कि 242 लोगों में से एक बचा, तो 241 का ही था, और उनके फादर उनको छोड़ने गए थे। वो छोड़ के निकले, कुछ दूरी पहुंचे थे, फिर उनको प्लेन हादसे की जानकारी लगी। फिर उनसे बातचीत करी तो उन्होंने बताया कि प्लेन क्रैश हो गया है, बिटिया उसी में ही थी।
16 तारीख को शायद हरप्रीत के जो हस्बैंड हैं रॉबी, उनका बर्थडे था, उनसे मिलने जा रही थी।
जी, पहले 19 को जा रही थी, 16 को बर्थडे था, तो बेटे के साथ उसने प्लान किया कि यूरोप भी घूमेंगे साथ में हम, तो वो इस हिसाब से 12 तारीख को निकल गई थी। 15 तारीख को यूरोप घूमने की तैयारी थी उनकी। जी,
हादसे के लिए आप सर किसको जिम्मेदार मानते हैं? एयर इंडिया में पहले भी कई शिकायतें आती रही हैं, तो इस हादसे का जिम्मेदार किसे मानते हैं आप?
सर, ये तो मैं नहीं कह सकता, पर ऐसा पूरा जानकारी है कि इससे अच्छा बोइंग कोई सी भी नहीं है, कोई सा भी नहीं है। पता नहीं क्यों ये दुखद घटना हुई, किस कारण से हुई, इसके बारे में कैसे कह सकता हूँ मैं, टेक्निकल जानकारी नहीं है सर मुझे।
दोनों इंजन फेल हुए एक साथ?
हाँ, ये बड़ा आश्चर्य, बस एक ही प्रश्न है कि दोनों इंजन एक साथ जाना, बड़ा आश्चर्य का लगा।
अभी वहाँ ETS भी पहुँच गई है जांच करने के लिए, तो जांच होना चाहिए इस एंगल पे भी कि कुछ षड्यंत्र तो नहीं?
बिल्कुल जांच क्यों नहीं होना चाहिए सर। 242 लोग हैं, 242 में उनके परिवार पे क्या गुजरी है, सबसे बड़ी बात यह है।
There has been Air India once again in huge crisis. 2 flights report technical snag. First, Hong Kong Delhi is grounded. Now, Zurich Delhi flight faces a 5-hour delay. Smoke and sparks fly near wheels of Saudi Airlines plane while landing at Lucknow Airport. Prime Minister Modi, after receiving ceremonial welcome in Cyprus, now leaves for Canada to attend the G7 summit. Exchange of missiles between Israel and Iran entered a 4th day with no sign of easing. US Embassy in Israel faces minor damage. And woman allegedly assaulted by a Rapido bike taxi driver near a footwear showroom in Jayanagar in Bengaluru.
Amity has been ranked India's #1 not-for-profit private university for 11th year, with top 10 ranked institutions in management, engineering, biotech, law, masscom, telecom, hospitality, fashion and more. Yet another top ranking for Amity University.
ये है सीक्रेट रेसिपी MDH का जीरा सिप जल जीरा मसाला।
Hi, this is Chef Ranveer Brar. Guarantee you brilliance on behalf of IIHM.
15 साल हो गया उनको वहाँ पे, 10-15 साल से।
और इंडिया में कब से आए थे?
इंडिया यहाँ पे उनके मम्मी का हार्ट हो गया था बोल के उनको मिलने आए थे।
हाँ।
तो 6 दिन में रिटर्न था उनका जाने का, तो 6 दिन में ये हादसा हो गया।
कहाँ से, अहमदाबाद की प्रॉपर रहने वाले?
नहीं नहीं, एक्चुअली रहते हैं हम लोग बॉम्बे है क्या, और वाया फ्लाइट था, तो बॉम्बे से यहाँ आए थे, यहाँ से हम लोग को उनको लंदन जाना था, यूके जाना था।
तो उसमें छोटी बच्ची भी थी, मतलब कितने उम्र के लोग थे, उनकी उम्र क्या थी?
वो एक की 4 है और एक की शायद मेरे ख्याल से 8 है, 4 या 6 ऐसा कुछ है लड़की की।
कब से रह रहे थे, क्या करते थे वहाँ पे?
होटल मैनेजमेंट का को ये था उनका जॉब, और 15 साल हो गया उनको वहाँ पे, 10-15 साल से।
अहमदाबाद प्लेन क्रैश में इंदौर की एक बहू की भी जान गई है। सैकड़ों लोग इसमें अपनी जान गंवाए हैं। बहुत ही दुखद हादसा है, लेकिन इंदौर की जो बहू है उनके घर में हमें हरप्रीत होरा जो बच्ची है वो अपने पति से लंदन मिलने जाना चाह रही थी, क्योंकि उनके पति का 16 जून को जन्मदिन था। हरप्रीत के ससुर जी हमारे साथ हैं, राजेंद्र होरा, उनसे हम बात करते हैं। सर, कैसे आपको कब फर्स्ट इन्फॉर्मेशन कब मिली इस हादसे की और आपकी बहू की?
सर, मीडिया के माध्यम से प्लेन क्रैश की जानकारी मिली, प्रथम वहीं से मिली। अब बिटिया उसी प्लेन में जा रही थी, तो नैसर्गिक रूप से मन में डाउट हुआ, पर एक उम्मीद की किरण थी, क्योंकि पहले 30 लोगों का सुना, फिर 50 लोगों का, फिर संख्या बढ़ती चली गई। फिर
आपको वहां से किसका फोन आया जिसने जानकारी दी कि आपकी बहू भी नहीं रही?
ये न्यूज़ चैनल के माध्यम से कि 242 लोगों में से एक बचा, तो 241 का ही था, और उनके फादर उनको छोड़ने गए थे। वो छोड़ के निकले, कुछ दूरी पहुंचे थे, फिर उनको प्लेन हादसे की जानकारी लगी। फिर उनसे बातचीत करी तो उन्होंने बताया कि प्लेन क्रैश हो गया है, बिटिया उसी में ही थी।
16 तारीख को शायद हरप्रीत के जो हस्बैंड हैं रॉबी, उनका बर्थडे था, उनसे मिलने जा रही थी।
जी, पहले 19 को जा रही थी, 16 को बर्थडे था, तो बेटे के साथ उसने प्लान किया कि यूरोप भी घूमेंगे साथ में हम, तो वो इस हिसाब से 12 तारीख को निकल गई थी। 15 तारीख को यूरोप घूमने की तैयारी थी उनकी। जी,
हादसे के लिए
Air safety concerns mount after June 12th crash. Another Air India Dreamliner returns mid-air again. Is passenger safety being compromised for cost? Debating tonight at 8 p.m.
From the Republic Media Network headquarters, it's time for Arnab Goswami on the debate. Arnab Goswami on the debate.
On the show tonight, why Air India and the Tatas cannot escape this despite technical snags coming to the fore. Air India must answer on why a compromise on passenger safety has become routine for the airline. And at 9 p.m. tonight, is this going to be World War III? Nuclear threats are being openly made. It's not about West Asia. It's about all of us. The least we want is accountability and answerability. That's the least we, the air passengers, want. We, the air passengers, demand. And we are asking this question and we are making these demands with greater anger in our voice because we are not getting an answer. The fact of the matter is, as we all know, a templated reply, ladies and gentlemen, completely templated reply has been given out by the airlines. The problem is, there is a problem that the airlines have. And I have a feeling that the passengers have not been given clear answers. The passengers on their part and the media have become very active and almost activist, and rightly so, because we are worried. Every time we take an airline, every time any loved one takes an airline, we are worried about what's going to happen to the airline, and no, we are not being paranoid. Ladies and gentlemen, if Air India thinks we are being paranoid, they are wrong. An Air India Boeing Dreamliner, which was supposed to fly from Delhi to Bengaluru at 8:30 a.m., this is a report of 16th, was vacated. Passengers were asked to board another aircraft at 10:30 a.m. on Delhi's IGI Terminal 3. The flight was rescheduled to 1:30 p.m. allegedly, with the passengers stuck on the Delhi IGI airport. What we want to know is what was going on. This is not like watching Doordarshan in the old days and saying there is a takniki kharabi. This is about the lives of the passengers. You can't be carted from one plane to the other, ladies and gentlemen, so easily. And just be told, we will give you refreshments. We will put you in a hotel if necessary, but don't ask more questions about what happened. We will ask questions because we are paying passengers. A Saudi Airlines flight carrying 250 Hajj pilgrims encountered a technical snag. The visuals are very scary. I'd like to run the visuals, viewers. These are the pictures of the Saudi Airline 250 Hajj pilgrims take off from Jeddah, landing in Lucknow around 6:30 a.m. Huge landing gear issue. Smoke and sparks observed from the left wheel. It's all captured on camera shortly after landing. This is getting very serious. We have a civil aviation crisis in this country. In fact, it shouldn't just be called an Air India crisis. We should call it a civil aviation crisis. It's an aviation crisis that we are facing. Hashtag aviation crisis. Viewers, now Air India can't be touchy about being criticized. What is going on, Air India? Another Boeing 787-8 Dreamliner Air India 315 takes off from Hong Kong to New Delhi, has to make a return journey. Why? Because of a technical glitch mid-air. Now, when we ask what was the technical glitch, we are told it is, as per our initial information, a problem with the engine to fuel filter bypass EICAS message, EICAS message. EICAS means it's a maintenance problem, not a pilot error. EICAS monitors engines, hydraulics, electricals, flight controls, and fuel systems, which means that this can be a potentially catastrophic problem. Just because eventually the plane landed back safely after making a return trip does not mean that there was no imminent danger. There was a danger, and it is in response to that danger that the plane came back. We are also told, why are you making a big deal of smaller problems that people are facing? I would like to run some videos. Arzu Sethi from Jaipur says there's no air conditioning inside the Air India Express flight for 5 hours in Dubai. That's her video. Akash, another Air India passenger, travels from Delhi to Ahmedabad. Let me show his video. He had flown in the now crashed Boeing 787. He puts out a video about experiencing faults in the plane. There's another video, Amsterdam to Delhi, water is dripping, ladies and gentlemen, from various spots inside the plane. Now we're told, why are you complaining? That plane didn't crash, why are you complaining? Should passengers complain only in a near crash situation? What is the answerability of these airlines? Why have they been given a long rope? And the only option you have tonight as passengers is to start raising your voice as loud as possible. These airlines can do nothing. They can't take you on. They can't blackmail you. They can't pressurize you. You have the hand. You have the upper hand. All passengers need to do is unite against these arrogant airlines. We need to make them answer. We need to make them answerable. What are passengers really paying for? I have 4 questions. Comfort and safety, or a gamble with their lives? What are passengers really paying for? Are they paying for faulty machines that return mid-air, no AC, or planes that crash into residential neighborhoods? Why do technical glitches happen so often across fleets, from serious ones, fuel filter failures to landing gear sparks. How long will we be told these are just close calls before we admit there is a systemic crisis in the aviation industry? And what does it reveal about our regulatory architecture? How long do passengers have to crowdsource video evidence of the failure of the airlines? And finally, is this a maintenance crisis, or is there a deeper structural compromise in fleet integrity? Because airlines only want to make more and more profit margins. Now, the airlines must know the passengers are very aware, very united, and very well researched. It's the airlines which have no option now. They want to be in the aviation business. They better listen. Let's debate.
4 days after the Ahmedabad plane crash, more than 100 dead bodies are yet to be identified.
Such was the scale of fire which engulfed AI-171, and now the teams are failing to find 100+ bodies. This is the ground reality after the airplane crashed. While official numbers and casualties which have been released by the Gujarat government is 268, out of which 241 are the passengers, rest of the bodies are yet to be found. There are over 100 bodies which are missing. Are they on the site? Where are these 100 missing bodies is a question, because as civil hospital has received only 132 bodies, what about those 100 bodies which are still missing?
Aviation safety concerns have raised alarms.
I am really shocked to see the irresponsible behavior of this flight. I am actually shocked. We are pushing the crew button, but none of the crew is coming. Again and again, everyone is pushing. Just look at the situation.
We won't listen to you. We don't trust you.
We are almost about to taxi, but this AC is not working. Look at everyone. And it's a Dreamliner 787.
Multiple aviation incidents have added to these woes.
Water dripping in Air India flight.
In one day, 2 major incidents involving Air India have been reported. The cause of U-turn was reported as fuel filter bypass alert message by the engine indication and crew alerting system. While the quick decision by the pilots averted any mishap, any deviation from normal parameters can be catastrophic if ignored. Similar technical glitch has caused multiple air tragedies in the past. Another technical problem was reported in Zurich to Delhi flight.
This very shocking that, if we see Hong Kong aircraft, if we see Zurich aircraft, both the aircraft have gone from Delhi only to those particular places, and during return they are facing major technical issue, and that clearly states that there has not been any maintenance, there has not been any inspection, they are not taking seriously the order of DGCA and Ministry of Civil Aviation, and everyone is appalled with the kind of behavior of Air India. They are not responding, they are not giving any media statement, they are not exactly telling us exactly what is wrong with the Boeing, or whether they are in touch with the Boeing or not. Exactly, problem is with the assembling, problem is the maintenance issue, has it to go for servicing. No one is aware what is exactly happening inside Air India and Boeing.
A Saudi Airlines plane with Hajj pilgrims on board had a major scare. Smoke and sparks were spotted near the wheels of the plane.
लखनऊ के चौधरी चरण सिंह एयरपोर्ट पे कल के दिन सऊदी अरेबिया से एक फ़्लाइट आई और उस फ्लाइट को लेकर तमाम तरीके की जानकारी आई है। हम लखनऊ एयरपोर्ट पे मौजूद हैं, तस्वीरें आपको दिखा रहे हैं जहां सऊदी एयरपोर्ट से उड़ी एक फ़्लाइट, सऊदी अरेबिया एयरलाइंस की फ़्लाइट SV3112 लैंड करती है। लैंडिंग के दौरान पहिए से चिंगारी और धुआं निकलता है, जिसके बाद अफरा तफरी की स्थिति में जो ग्राउंड सपोर्ट टीम है वो उस आग को बुझा 20 मिनट की मशक्कत के बाद जो ये पूरी समस्या थी उसको कंट्रोल में लेकर आते हैं। शनिवार की बता दें आपको, रात में 11:30 बजे जेद्दा एयरपोर्ट से हज यात्रियों को लेकर ये जहाज उड़ा था और रविवार की सुबह लखनऊ पहुंचता है। लैंड करते ही पहिए में आग लग जाती है।
Back-to-back incidents have put the focus on aviation safety. An airline passenger pays heavy taxes and hefty price. Traveling via air is not even in everyone's budget. Yet safety and basic facilities of passengers is yet to take off. The passengers are worried and asking only one question. How safe is it to take a flight?
I'm really shocked to see the irresponsible behavior of this flight. I am actually shocked.
Okay, we have with us tonight Sohail Seth, and we have with us Sohail Seth is of course Managing Partner Counselage, very well-known voice from industry. Dr. Vandana Singh, Chairperson of the Aviation Cargo Federation of the Aviation Industry in India, FAII. Parvez Damania has been former Director, Kingfisher, founder of Damani Airways. J. Anand Dehadra is a Supreme Court advocate. He's pro Air India on this, I'm told. Sanat Kaul is Chairman of the International Foundation for Aviation, Aerospace and Drones. Rajiv Mehra is General Secretary and former President of the Federation of Association of Indian Tourism and Hospitality. Faith, he's joining us from Australia. We have an issue here, we need to deal with it. We need to come to terms with how to handle this situation. Now, suddenly all over. Rajiv, I want to start with you, Rajiv. All over, we have these innumerable incidents of, things happening to planes. It can't be because the media is reporting it. Maybe the airlines after the Air India crash are becoming extra careful. And maybe that's why it's getting reported. But there are so many incidents of what are called technical glitches, dangerous situations. Why is so much coming out now, you think, Rajiv?
You see, thank you for being here. The point here is that definitely after the Air India crash, these things are coming up. They were not reported earlier, but I think the passengers are more vigilant now while traveling. So that is the reason why these things are being reported to the media by the passengers, and although the airline might not be reporting these kind of things. But my thing is that aviation is still the safest mode of travel. This odd accident has happened. It should not happen. And I think whether it's the chairman of Air India or the pilot or anyone, no one wants to make, no one wants any life to be lost.
No.
However, at the same time.
But what, Rajiv, the argument being made here is not that nobody is saying the airlines want to kill passengers. The problem is it's a reductionist argument. See, the problem is here that what we are seeing, when I heard of this today, and I was appalled actually. Sanat Kaul, I want to come to you before I go to Sohail. This 787 Dreamliner Air India 315, which flew from Hong Kong to New York. We are now told, now what happens usually is we are told there was a technical glitch, the plane came back, everybody's safe, everybody's fine. We don't usually get to know, Mr. Kaul, what exactly happened. After the Air India crash, passengers are becoming more aware. The media is becoming more vigilant and people started inquiring. Then we were told it happened due to an engine to fuel filter bypass, EICAS message. Then this means, EICAS means it is a serious problem with engines, hydraulics, electricals, flight controls and fuel systems. And some of these issues can be catastrophic if ignored. Now, all of this focus of the media, all of us, is because of the crash, I agree. But it means we're sitting on this time bomb, Mr. Kaul. That means this plane was in some dangerous situation, wasn't it? The Hong Kong to New Delhi plane was in a dangerous situation. It's an Air India plane. It's a 787 Dreamliner, the same type that crashed.
You're right. It is a very serious situation. Safety is getting compromised just now. Now, how it's happening, why it's happening is something which I can't say. The DGCA is the safety regulator and it's his call basically. Now, as regards the Air India, We were very happy when Air India started Vistara with Singapore Airlines. Of course, they had new planes, but it was running very well. When Air India was privatized and Tata Singapore Airline joint venture took over, we were still expecting a lot to happen, but somehow it has not happened. Now, I was trying to look into it and see how and why this has happened. And I feel that Tatas have not given Singapore Airlines the proper, because they are the best people in the industry to run an airline, to manage an airline, to maintain an airline. And I don't know why they are not giving them the amount of weightage that they should give in management of the airline, which they were doing in Vistara. Now, that's my explanation for the whole thing. Otherwise, I think it's time DGCA is revamped totally. Because some professionals, some outsiders, and it doesn't have a full staff, whereas the passenger traffic has gone up so much in India that it has to have more staff, and that's another issue. Coming back to the particular crash, I don't know. I really can't say what happened in this class. Let the committee or the investigation decide. And it could be anything. It could be anything. It could even be a sabotage.
No, but this is so. The thing is, see, I am being very balanced about this. I have a real worry about what's going on now. There's another Air India Boeing Dreamliner. And Sohail, I'm not picking on Air India, but there's an Air India Boeing Dreamliner supposed to fly from Delhi to Bangalore, 8:30 a.m. It's vacated. Passengers are told to board another aircraft after 2 hours. Then it's rescheduled to 1:30. We don't know what happened with this plane. I mean, this is all happening overnight. Passengers are being vacated, moved. Flights are turning back. EICAS messages are being reported. I mean, it's not just an industry issue, Sohail. It's a lot of this, 70% of the case are Air India.
Because that's what you guys want to report. A, B, no one is holding a candle for anyone. Now you must allow me to speak without any interruption. You rightly said that a Hong Kong-Delhi flight had to turn back. Why did it turn back? Because for the pilots and therefore for Air India, passenger safety was paramount. Now, if they didn't turn back and God forbid something happened, then you would blame the airline. So do and you're damned. If you don't, you're damned as well. I mean, it's a ridiculous argument. A, B, you very rightly in your opening remarks talked about Saudia. The British Airways plane had the same turnaround from the Strait of Dover. Look, let me tell you, Arnab, very clearly. The DGCA is the safety regulator. The Tatas or Air India or any organization, whether it's British Airways, whether it's Saudia, no one wants their planes to crash because the paramount safety issue is of passengers. Please let the pilots do their job. I've been seeing on your channel and other channels videos of water leakage. You know what that happens? Why that happens? It happens because of something called condensation. Ask people on your panel who understand aviation, who fly on planes. Half the people don't fly on planes. One of your colleagues on another channel has a fictitious captain who dons a pilot's uniform and extols virtues of aviation, and that idiot has no knowledge of aviation. I mean, he was a pilot by default. No one, least of all the Tatas or Air India or Saudi or British Airways, no one is giving excuses, Arnab. You know, people say air conditioning failed. Air conditioning fails, you know why? When at the ground handling level, the auxiliary power is switched off. Do you know something? 3 weeks ago, I could not disembark from an Emirates flight at JFK because auxiliary power had failed. We were made to wait before we disembarked for 2.5 hours. Do you make a shindig about it? Now what will happen? Let me tell you. If a fly enters an aircraft, someone will upload a video, send it to you, and say, oh, see, a fly has entered the aircraft. For God's sake, please don't throw the baby with the bathwater. Someone, you rightly said, that we are not getting answers, The Air India management, as it should be, is seized with 3 issues right now. Number one, to make sure that the victims and their families have the caregivers. No, don't look away. Number two,
so predictable.
They have done what they're supposed to do under DGCA regulations of having repeat checks. Number three, they're continuing to fly their planes. I mean, some of your colleagues have written about the wonderful, about excellent testimonials that in the last 5-6 days, when you would have imagined that a lot of crew would have been shattered, have done their duty admirably well.
Now,
people slack enough.
1 minute, Sohail, now.
If you misreport a news, will we hang you? No.
Sohail,
we will say there was a misreportage because he got the wrong input.
Sohail, see, I understand your sentiment, and I do understand that you have done a 10-year course in ground aviation engineering, so you know everything that we do.
No, I was for 6 years on the British Airways board.
The other point is this. See, we need to. No, 1 minute, Sohail, now.
Sohail, one of his competitors.
It's all right.
Shut down, so he also knows what I'm saying.
All right. I mean, whatever. See, the thing is this. See, there has to be an aspect of responsibility out here. Okay?
Of course.
1 minute, let me complete. Now, why are you being my conjunctive? Please let me complete my sentence.
Of course.
Yeah, that's whatever, but let me complete what I'm saying, Sohail. Now, my question is, my 1 minute, Sohail, one minute, Sohail. I'll tell you this. In the media also, you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. I am not part of a PR campaign for Air India or Tata's. I never will be. But I will ask a question here, and I've reported all the cases. I've reported the British Airways case. I've reported the Saudia case, and it is obvious to me that these are all serious cases. Now we have to acknowledge either there is a problem. By the way, you should see the Netflix documentary on Boeing. There could be a problem with Boeing. 1 minute.
I thought you were.
One minute. So let me complete, yeah. No, 1 minute. Let me tell you this. Either there is a problem with Boeing, or there is a problem with Air India, or there is a problem with Boeing and Air India and some other airlines. I am not looking at anything in isolation. But I also know that commercially, if an airline has to change 60% of its fleet overnight because of technical issues with any of their principal suppliers, the airline will go down. I give the most recent example, right, of your friend Nusli Wadia and Jay Wadia's airline, he may not be your friend, but Jay Wadia's airline, which went down because of the problem with the Witt and Pratney engines. Now the problem is, please, let me complete now. See, here it is a very powerful force. Powerful companies run airlines and powerful companies make planes. We have a problem. And the problem is of trust today. And if I open the line, Sohail, I would say trust is very important. And why were Tata's given Air India? Principally because of trust. Now that trust, if it is broken, then we will ask today, how come within 24 hours? Only one question tonight. Air India, one plane, Delhi to Bangalore, vacated, removed, shifted. Air India, Hong Kong to Delhi plane, problem, right? That means there are repeated problems with Air India, which obviously your Air India is now being extra careful, which is good, they are being extra careful, but it means that there are maintenance issues with the planes. Otherwise, don't tell me a Hong Kong plane goes back unless there are severe problems with either hydraulics, engines, electricals, flight controls and fuel systems. And if there are such problems, and you can tell me you should be grateful that the problems are flagged, I'm happy. But I will also ask, why are there these problems? Who would not? Parvez, am I wrong? Because Sohail is trying to say, why are you even asking this question?
Let me tell you, in Hong Kong, the checks and tests are done by the Hong Kong Ground
is
Authority.
flying without snags. Every plane has minor issues. At times, some of the issues are minor enough for the pilot to take off the plane without any safety. But at any stage, if the pilot feels that safety is an issue, He has the right to ground it, the aircraft, or turn it around. See, pilot is not going to look after the inconvenience of the passenger. The crew is there to look after that. The pilot's job is safety first. No airline, whether it be Air India, Indigo, Saudi, is going to take chances with the lives of people. Yes, I agree with you that after this crash, people have become more alert. The government has put more systems in place. The government has increased checks for 787, which is a good factor. The government has formed a special committee. These factors are good. Another thing I want to point out to you, Sohail will agree, that Tata's is a giant company. They do not lack any finance. So I am sure they've never cut any cost as far as engineering, maintenance, salaries, or quality of the people they hire. This accident is very, very unfortunate. I don't think at this stage we can hold the pilots or Air India or Boeing or anybody responsible. We should wait for the government report, the DFDR.
One minute. See, the thing is, Parvez, 1 minute. Parvez, just Sohail, just wait a minute. Parvez, see. All nice statements. I understand your sentiment, and I will tell you what your statements amount to. One, Tatas are a good company. Tatas will not compromise. Yes. There will be an investigation, and 2 years from now, we'll give you a one-line reply, by which time we would have bought time. The corporates must continue to work as corporates, and passengers must learn to be patient. Now, question is, here, Vandana, I'm not even talking only of Air India. I'm saying there is a global panic after the crash, rightly so. I, as the passenger, am happy there's a panic. You see, there is an exact replica plane, 787-8, right? Dreamliner. Takes off from London for Chennai. Let's look at the situation. This is not Air India, it's British Airways. The plane takes off at 12:40 p.m. It takes off 35 minutes later. It goes to the coast of the United Kingdom. Vandana. Then something is found. And before it crosses the English Channel into the continent, it takes 3 circles and comes back to Heathrow after 2.5 hours. Now, I obviously know that this is linked to what happened. Now, anyone flying a Dreamliner will say there's a problem. I am asking as a passenger, do I have a right to know what the hell happened? My life could have been put at risk. I need to know not just I came back to London, but what happened, so that next time I can make a determined decision whether to fly a 787 on British Airways or Air India, or to fly a Boeing at all. I don't get to know. I'm just told, I'm really sorry, we'll put you on the next flight. But what just happened to my life? What could have happened? Is it too much to ask? Vandana.
Thank you, Arnab, for having me on your show. It's an honor. And as a soldier's disciplined daughter, I've been waiting for my turn. I won't say that I can be interrupted or not interrupted, but I would like to say that, yes, we as passengers have the right to know. And yes, what is happening with the 787-8s and what is happening with the previous Boeing faults that happened, we really have to look seriously into this matter. We as passengers have right to know. The time has come that we need to know what went wrong, because our lives are at stake. And at this point in time, when so many lives are lost in this Air India crash, I, sitting very much here in the Federation of Aviation Industry, would really like to ask Air India this question. Because there has been structuring and restructuring, and I believe too many cooks spoil the broth. I do believe that safety protocols have been ignored. I believe there has been inadequate maintenance. I believe from faulty seat belts to broken seats, what have you. We have had so much of stuff coming out. You're showing it on your videos. And I do believe that it is time the passenger comes to know exactly what is going on, where his life is at stake.
But that point is not told. You see, Vandana, you're right there. But that point is not told. That point is not informed. What we are saying is we want passengers to know. Now, it's not a minor incident. If Sohail had only understood the matter in some detail, he would have not called it a minor incident, Ajay, because the pilot dumped his fuel in panic.
And there was another incident.
I did not use the phrase
No.
minor incident at all.
Okay, so
My
it was a
English
major
is
incident then,
good.
Sohail.
It wasn't a minor.
You
not use
acknowledge
the
it was
word
a major
minor
incident. Now, there was another incident, Sohail, from Zurich to Delhi. Another plane, it's also an Air India plane. So, when we are saying Hong Kong